and welcome to episode 500 of the Spitballing Pod. I'm Luke Byron, joined as always by Tom Kennett, and we have plenty to get into. It is the biggest pod of the year, the big Prem preview. Over the next few hours, we'll be joined by fans of 5 different Premier League sides, letting us know how confident they feel ahead of the opening weekend. TK, I thought before we bring any of them in, I'll say this now because we're likely to be both warm and exhausted in a few hours, which maybe doesn't sound as I intended. But
I know it's a big pod.
I would say, looking down this camera, a big thank you to anyone that tunes in every week or even occasionally, a smaller thank you for them. A thank you to anyone that has shared something that we've posted. A big thank you from us to anyone that has ever joined us, either at my house or online. A big thank you from me to you for being alongside me for 99% of these episodes. And then especially a big thank you to Florida Man, Papa John's, James Pantry, for providing us something to do, some bonus content for an introduction when we've needed something.
Japanese game shows, thank you to them.
Exactly, we can go way back on those. Quite gutted actually that we didn't have video for some of those, because I think looking back at some of those tapes would be very good. As a last bit of reflecting before we get anyone on, I wondered if you have a favourite moment or episode that we've done within the last 499.
Yeah, 500 is crazy. Look, I always love these pre-season ones and the transfer deadline day ones. I think we've had some great ones of those, conveyor belt of people coming in. I think it works really well. I think this one might get a little rough for me, got to be honest. You're saying about people feeling confident coming into the season. Maybe not my finest one this year. I think some of the random ones we've done, the interview ones were great. We had a great run of interviews, and my particular favourite had to be the Dobkin one, speaking to the director of Wedding Crashers. It would have been great anyway, but then the answers he gave and the way he spoke and stuff was brilliant, so I liked that. And obviously, our interview with JB, Jonathan Brown, there was more like a chat, really, rather than an interview. It was great. And that kind of run where we didn't have sport on. It was just during the pandemic, and we kind of had to pivot a little bit and do some movie ones and do some interviews and stuff. It was a weird time, but it was good fun. And then some of the other ones, like draft ones and things like that, I kind of think back to like the Villains draft, the Rotten draft. I like those. I remembered I thought one of the funniest episodes we did a Batman and Robin watch. It's me, you, and Keenan. I think it was online. And I remember just laughing a lot at that one. So, a lot of good memories on there.
I actually think if you include film episodes and like World Cup previews and things, I think it's closer to 800 that we've done. So
they're non-canon.
We've been very busy. Similar to you, although I would say with the interviews, and it wasn't even really for the podcast, had the David Hay one I did, put it on the second episode, was able to stick it on the website of a magazine I was writing for at the time to just reel people in from the jump, and then have Alex projected into their homes and Troy and whoever else has kind of been on across that period of time. Sean, of course, regular at one point. I would feel similarly to you. I think the fast food draft felt like one of those things that kind of typified what we look to do in taking things incredibly seriously. Like anything we do on here, a scary amount of preparation goes into it, even for something as trivial as that. The 24 challenge being our first video episode was so great that I think it almost seemed scripted. I do have an update on that I think in the next international break, Keenan says he would try the 99900 challenge, which is 9 pints, 9 hot dogs in 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes. And he thinks,
my word,
he said to me very specifically, as long as the pints are cold. Which feels fair enough. So I said, we'll lock that one in. I think just any time we're collectively shocked or in stitches, that's what it's always been about for me. I remember the headline about feral hogs building pigloos, which there was a man that was caught cranking it in his car, and he told the police he was playing the air drums. the pig that was reeled in by a trail of Doritos, just all of those headlines before everything just got a lot darker and it wasn't fun to quote those anymore.
Yeah, there was 1 week, wasn't it, where we were like, this is too much.
We had the Unai Emery to Arsenal news drop while we were recording.
Yes, yeah.
We were recording 10 minutes after Alexis Sanchez had played the piano at Old Trafford.
Seeing Connor turn up for the pod that day was, if we could have been recording then, superb.
Zubamendi rejecting Liverpool and so on. I do have a whole archive of photos that I'll probably put out over the next few days, which looks like I've just been snapping pictures of Alex over the years because he was always on the other side of the table.
Yeah. The Premier League years, pods, it's really sticking in the mind. Apart from anything, one, enjoyed doing them. Two, it felt like we survived something together. It was like a traumatic experience that we both got through.
Built us up for now. We wouldn't have wanted video on us that day.
I mean, the people wouldn't have wanted it, I'll tell you that.
Zubamendi rejecting Liverpool. I was on with you and Rory.
That's twice you've done that now. I don't know if you're doing that deliberately to me, but thank you.
I say that one twice. Wait.
I have to say the pod immediately after Caicedo Lavia was a real low because Jack went from 5 minutes of gloating to just looking worried for me, worried what was going to happen to me.
I would say mostly, to be fair, as simple as it is, and it hopefully translates to people that are watching, just meeting up with the boys once a week to just talk into a microphone about the exact same things we'd be discussing anyway, but probably over a group chat, which isn't quite the same. So anyway, enough of that. We'll get the first person in, which I believe is going to be Troy to talk about Arsenal. Troy, first time seeing you on the pod for a little while. If you needed a reminder, we are headed into the season as Premier League champions. Gold patch on the sleeve. How are you feeling heading into this one? Is your chest puffed out? We're the champions. It's ours to retain. Are you chilled? We've won one now. What will be, will be. Somewhere in the middle. How are we doing?
I'm feeling incredibly optimistic about the new season ahead. Even more so, I know it's only Community Shield and those words get flung about a lot, but yesterday's performance, just being able to make those extra subs, and we just look like we have more about us, really. An extra. Last year, we were accused a lot of not having that extra gear in us. I think adding that extra bit of depth is going to help us along the way this season, albeit we do have a hell of a lot of midfielders on the books at the moment. But I'm optimistic. And to be honest, with looking at, City with a new manager, Liverpool obviously with their issues at the minute, United being a sort of on a transitional year as well, I feel it could actually be ours for the running away. And I know you don't like this sort of talk. Byron hates this type of shit, but I actually genuinely think that we could run away with it quite early, and I really want us to dominate this year. I want it to be a point of where last year it was, are Arsenal good enough? This season it's going to be, we're not only good enough, we're the best of the best. That's what we need to try and do this year. I think that's what we're hoping for anyway. What about how you thinking?
Well, I said last season that, give me one and,
I'll retire happy. Yeah.
Each morning I'm still depressed at the lack of transfer news. I put my cap over my face for a corner yesterday, which isn't a good start. Once we went 2-0 up, I thought, let me check the Man City odds very quickly. So not a lot has changed. Other than my relative confidence, I would say, and even a lot of my feeling about the other teams, which myself and TK will cover at some point over the next couple of hours, I'm kind of have a feeling about them just because they are who they are, more than it's almost not good for me loading up their squads.
I know that, yeah.
Because then I start thinking a bit crazily. I will say Man City's starting 11 was a bit of a reminder for me yesterday that, okay, they do have a pretty good team there. I'd kind of taken Rodri out of it in my head over the summer and written off everyone else. And this was a team that had me going through hell for at least 8 to 12 weeks at the back end of last season. So, yeah, Saka and Rice are back already. I think perhaps naive of us, and we'd read into a few too many things that they were just going to sit out until the end of September and do nothing. And kind of reminded that when you look back, that never really happens, regardless of what's happened in the year before for any team coming off an international tournament.
City have done it with one or two before, but they've tended to have unbelievable depth and not players of the importance of Rice and Saka either.
I think that's the main thing, isn't it? With the main difference is they are kind of our star guys, you know. So yeah, I was fully expecting to see them.
I think you can see some management of them, but I don't think it's going to be like, right, they're not seeing any action.
Yeah, I don't really want to see them having 90 minutes now for 5 games in a row, but I can, we do expect that they will be sort of pushed back into that frame.
Well, I think that there is a reminder. I think we were messaging during the game yesterday about Bruno and how he looks. He had an ice pack on his thigh afterwards, but he'd played 45 minutes of football post World Cup before that point. Saka, of course, hadn't played anything. And if I was really reading into things, I watched Saka yesterday and thought, I don't think you were that quick at any point last season, or even just whether he trusted his body to have that burst or whether it just looked like he did. There was one he closed down where he looked far faster than I remember him being since.
I think Madueke looked rapid too. I mean, I know me and you often view that player differently, but I think that yesterday he kind of looked like he, there's obviously we probably get into a little bit of transfer talk, but him being a player that a lot of fans have struggled to get on board with. He definitely has a huge point to prove this season, I think, because he would probably have looked at himself as, look, I'm not probably going to get sold. I've only been here the 1 year. So he's given that sense of confidence that I am going to be in and around the squad this year, as opposed to the likes of, say, Reece Nelson and Jesus, who the time has come and gone for them. And even perhaps Martinelli, his time may be coming to an end. And but I think, so for a lot of the players, there's a huge opportunity this season. Well, the pressure's not as much as it was last year in terms of, having to get over the line. We've done that now. So
I don't know why they released them, because he was getting a lot of flack for that training footage that came out. And it's like, if I'm thinking of him and I'm thinking of someone that does manage to get inside in space a lot, I would like to think you're taking 20 shots on your weak foot in the off season. And that's what he's doing. The issue is they didn't look like very good shots and we shouldn't see them. Like, I want to see you come out, Community Shield, and show me something new, like a new bag of tricks or something.
Was it like... we've seen him that he has it in his locker. I mean, like that goal he scored in the Champions League last season, was it against Club Bruges? Yeah. That was just like, where the hell did you pull that from?
Equally impressed with the header he had against Brentford, that he was like all the way over him and he looped it back across.
And to be fair, he has that attempt, the long shot attempt yesterday against City. It's just it fizzles to the bottom corner and the keeper saves it. It's one of those that it's not always going to come off, but you have that in you.
There are some players in the league where, and I'd like more than that for a £55 million player. Yeah. But they can be in the team, and Martinelli's the same. Their only use on the field that day can be that they're fast enough that defence has to step back 10 paces. And I don't think Solis or Havertz are making you do that. So he did that, and he's not really looking at Saka at this point in time. I wouldn't think. He's probably looking at Max Dowman in pre-season and thinking... That's
because me and you both were sort of under the thing of like, well, Max quite easily could have started on that right-hand side yesterday, So,
everyone, of course, has their own issues heading into this season. I think maybe it's the first time almost universally every fan base is saying they're not ready. We need to fix this, and this. And most people would point to us as perhaps being the most ready. And our fans are saying, look, we need to plug this at right back and we need this on the left wing and so on. But I do think the absence of Saliba for, they're saying 2-3 months at this point, but could be up to half a season, could be longer than that, is being a little understated, because I think a lot of it assumes that he's just going to come back in, bounce right back, and just continue where he left off.
That type of injury as well, tough. It can persist. It's not one where you go, right, this is fixed and it's over now. So
it's easy for me or us to say as well, with them saying, look, the back surgery would have taken him out for about 5 months. We're sitting him for 3 months. I would say, and it's not my back being operated on, get the surgery and let's get this over with. But I don't know.
I'm always get a bit funny about things like back surgery, even if like someone just in regular life was like, it's only a minor back surgery. It's like, you're back. I mean, they get it slightly wrong. You could, in a bad way. I'm not saying they would with Saliba, for example, but if you don't have to, I'd avoid.
I don't know if you've seen the stuff with Mateta that's come out with Milan, where Milan said to him, they couldn't believe the state that his knee was in, and Palace was still expecting him to play on. And we know this happens right around the league. I often reference that Jurrien Timber interview where he says someone came to him and said, look, you can't damage this anymore. And that was just, he was expected to think, oh, well, I'll obviously play through the pain then because it's not going to get any worse. And that's my thing with Saliba. Do you think get this second title and look, we'll deal with it when we have to deal with it and hopefully it comes back fine after that? I'm not too trustworthy of any football team, including my own there. I worry as much about how it'll affect our build-up. Just last season when we didn't have him, it wasn't so much defensively, it was how we then progressed it through the pitch.
There was a lot of times last year, wasn't there, where we were almost perplexed at it of why does Saliba have the ball so damn much? Like, why is it everything sort of hinging on him to push everything forward? And it was like pivotal to actually what we were trying to do, I suppose, in the end. But it is true, if we take that out, and it is going to fill a bit of a void this season in terms of who.
So yesterday they dropped in Bruno basically to the edge of the area to pick the ball up, which was a bit different to Odegaard doing it, and also it was a bit different to what we did against Man City twice last season, where we just had no idea what to do when they pressed us on the front foot.
We were completely overwhelmed in midfield last season in that game. Yeah,
you wouldn't be at all surprised to see Lewis Skelly doing it as well. I think now that first half of the season, obviously you didn't see him a lot. By the back end, you will. I wonder if that was probably another part of it.
If you were picking a centre-back for us, and I don't expect you to name one now, I think for the majority of this podcast, we won't talk about specific targets because we've got a deadline day podcast and ultimately it could all be for nothing. But if you were choosing a centre-back, would you choose one that was more competent in passing and the build-up? Or if you think he's covering Saliba for 2-3 months, whatever, would you pick someone that's more resolute, that's more of a defender's defender, will worry about everything else and then get him back in there? And
I feel like the type of defender that Gabriel is, so the person that you're going to partner him alongside, Gabriel can hold hands. With like in terms of, he won't leave someone stranded out on so I would be more than happy to bring in sort of a ball playing defender who may not be completely up to that ability of where we obviously expect with someone like Saliba, and hope that someone like Gabriel playing alongside of him will compensate for that enough, rather than sort of just bringing in, maybe just more of like an experienced guy who, because to be honest, there's not really many out on the market anyway, if that's the case, like what we're looking for. So,
I feel the opposite way to you.
Yeah.
And you just want to stop her in that.
I just think there's less.
You want Mertesacker back.
No, I think there's less room for failure. There's less room for failure with a player like that. And I just think I would rather someone that is going to be 6.5 out of 10 for the remainder of their time with Arsenal than a guy that could potentially be an 8.5, but he's going to be a 3, 4, 5 in the couple of months until we get there, because I'm happy enough with Gabriel and Saliba until that. I back that Mosquera can be somewhere in there down the line. And so I would prioritise the short term with that. I just said no time. In the Kwanzaa situation, I lean towards Konsa more than Kwanzaa.
That's fair.
I don't want us anywhere near Kwanzaa, to be honest. I was quite surprised. I've just gone back on immediately what I said, but how quickly Liverpool fans kind of changed their opinions of, we can't let them get this guy, and they didn't seem too worried when he was out the door for 35 million a year before. But maybe that's just the transfer market.
Yeah, and I think because even like the Community Shield even put a post up showing Calafiori and Miles saying attacking fullbacks or whatever. I don't think Miles is a fullback anymore. I don't think we're going to see him play fullback very often, if ever, this season. I think if it is, it's going to be a case of like, we've had a player sent off, we've lost such and such. Yeah, drop in. I think that's going to be Hincapié and Cali all season long, which means that Hincapié's not going to be playing centre-back either, is he? So, yeah, it is a situation that does need addressing for certain.
The ironic thing is, as well, you're saying, don't think we'll see him at full-back, probably through the lens of he's been so good in midfield. That's from our technical point of view, it's I can't trust him at left back because he's too small. Or
there
whereas
is that, yeah.
in our minds, it's just that he's been so good since he's
too
stepped
good.
into the field that you would not put him at left back.
The less I can see him or Bruno running towards their own goal this season, the better, because I knew Bruno was slow. There's been times with both of them in pre-season where I've been watching it and it's like I'm in a dream trying to run. I realised how bad my driving was actually when I was on holiday, having a nightmare feel strong, but after a drink. It was me just driving around the block and the panic that was setting in doing that. I was like this and I couldn't find the pedals with my feet the whole way around. And we had a car full of people. And I thought, I'm not on the motorway. I'm just driving around my house. Arsenal overhauled their entire medical and fitness departments in the summer. I don't think anyone survived that cull. So you'd imagine this side, and we saw a bit of it yesterday, can go up a level. If you could just tell me now that Havertz, Saka, Timber and Calafiori play 70% of the season. Havertz alone, I don't want to have a whole podcast slagging off Gyökeres, but the difference when he came on yesterday to when Havertz was on the field is scary.
Yeah.
He had 3 touches while on the pitch, Gyökeres. All 3 of them bounced off his shin.
Yeah, and again, not for the first time with him, you can almost hear like an audible, like, oh, for fuck's sake, from the Arsenal fans.
He needs to learn as well.
He went near him, let alone when he touched.
He's not getting that foul that he constantly tries for.
Really
9 or 10 times a game. He gets it once or twice. The majority of the time, he's just not getting it. He just gets brushed off every time. And, that's like pushing his back that he completely falls over at every time. Like, it's like,
I think officials can't believe that he could be that weak. And the more you watch him, he is just that weak, which is Fabio Vieira is looking out thinking, if I was that size, the man that I would be. And yeah, he just he can't hold off any contact whatsoever.
There must be a way that you do it though, because I can remember watching Drogba do it and being infuriated time after time when he would inevitably get that free kick.
It's like taking a charge. You plant the feet.
Yeah, it is in a way.
Have a bit of bravery to take. He almost signposts when he's about to like throw up and like flail his legs. Is why he like makes it clear. But the problem is when he does that, every now and again, he'll then like 4 or 5. He will then try and barge someone and then give away the most blatant foul.
I think that's
in
part
like retribution.
Of it. Yeah.
He doesn't stop and take the contact. He stops and then says, "Don't even think about it."
And because often he's too slow at making it to the ball as well. So then
there was that one game, I think we won it anyway, but Tarkowski's pissing himself at how easily he's dealing with him, just shoving him over or just falling over himself and getting away with it.
When Fletch put it to McCoy, like, so who do you think looks, where do you think Arsenal look better, when Havertz is up front or when Gyökeres is up front? It's like, what are we doing? Why are we asking that? It's like, throughout, whenever you saw it last season, this game alone, it's a relatively clear. I know it's partly you're teeing it up so the ex-pro can then give an answer, but what are we doing?
Yeah, he is. I didn't miss him over the summer one bit.
He's gone international now. They love him in the States.
Jim.
I remember saying at the back end of last season, I think I said it before we'd won it, I was getting perhaps confident or just everything was on the table at that point. I didn't care anymore. I said that if we could get over the line, that we might play a far more expansive brand of football next season. Based on what you've seen and heard so far, I wonder if you believe that to be the case, or we'll be leaning more on our attritional strengths again.
Well, it's going to be attrition again, unfortunately. I don't see much of a change. Gyökeres
is some nice stuff yesterday.
Yeah, we did at times, but I still think when we've got Gyökeres as the pinpoint of the attack, I'm not saying he's going to be all season, but a lot anchors on, like we've just said, the fitness levels of say Kai Havertz. But
we're not playing Jogo Bonito hoops with him up top.
No, exactly that. But yeah, I mean, I think there is definitely room for a bit more expansion this season. I don't want to. No, I'm not even going to quote Gary Neville. We'll just leave that. Yeah, but I think we can do better this season in terms of that.
The monkey's off the back, isn't it? So you don't have that weighing you down. So it should be, at least for the manager and for the players, that should unleash him a bit. Do you think if, as you've said, it were to be that Arsenal are well ahead, say we got to the halfway stage, you can see the direction it's going in, do you think that might free them up in terms of, or do you think it will be the same style? Do you think that style will not change?
I just think everything is so loud now that I think just as easily the pressure can shift from you've never won a title, Arsenal have never won a title, to you've better retain this. You're a bottler if you don't do it. I've already seen.
Because it's going to be, isn't it? It's going to be, the standard's poor this year. If you can't do it this year.
They're the only settled team. Yeah. It's going to be, I hear you don't want to do a Leicester, and it's like, win a Premier League title. Like that's not anything to ever happen.
I mean, if you end up relegated, I mean, something's gone.
That's wild, yeah.
But it's like Liverpool had it, and the second you don't do well the next season, people seek to diminish what you did the year before and kind of excuse it and do all of this. So I do think everything is on top enough now that the pressure will come from elsewhere. And
there's still pressure. It's just not the same level of pressure as
I worry about us anyway, but I almost worry about us just as much with that big lead where you start pissing around and slow. You lose one, and then it's when you're 3-0 up and you concede one, and the first thought is we better not. Unless maybe that's just me.
Don't know what that's like at all. I'm not thinking like Selhurst Park. I'm not thinking of anything like that.
So I think it could be like that, but then I don't know how they'll take it in play. Gabriel, I think, is probably going to have some receipts, and I think he's going to take it out on a few people. It might even annoy him that Haaland isn't biting at it. Haaland seems to be going along with it, and, good sport. You got one, we'll get the next one. There's going to be a few people that maybe fire himself up in that way. I don't imagine Arteta's going to let the intensity wear off in any way. And also, Carragher should know better than me, which is a crazy thing for me to say about just his thing that he said that he thinks Arsenal, if they get to a certain point, they're going to prioritise the Champions League, and that's the one you want to win. Just find it hard to believe that you can ever really do that.
Yeah, I don't see how you prioritise.
Unless it's like I don't want to get injured here. I just can't imagine there being like a mental thing, particularly at this stage of the season. Like the Champions League's the one we want to win this season. Just feel the whole concept feels very alien to me.
You can't escape the league. It's you're living it day in, day out, and then the Champions League comes along every now and again. It's like you might think like that we're prioritising the Champions League, but in reality it's not like that.
We've seen it done as if you're not going to win the league.
Yeah.
So if you're totally out of it, then you start putting bullshit teams out in the league and playing strong teams in the cup. Like
you can't come out with it like at the beginning of the season before a game's been played and be like, I think they'll just go for this.
Mentally, I agree as well. You're not going to a Prem game and go, this doesn't really matter because we're focused on the Champions League. It just don't.
And if you're in both, I don't know what you've seen from Arteta that suggests he's going to prioritise one. If anything, he's going to sabotage both by playing someone
doing so extra.
Should wait for the next 100%. one. I don't know. I think legacy-wise, if you get that second Premier League, that's Arteta really kind of putting a stamp on every other manager in his kind of generation, really, and say that I'm the guy
new
here.
Guy,
so,
and in the Arsenal history books, isn't it?
Yeah,
I hadn't realised.
Yeah. I knew the stat already, and then I heard Fletch teeing it up.
Just couldn't believe it. It's just one of the many stats that sort of jump out at you now. I'll
be honest, you've kind of ruined those kind of questions for me, because I've asked you a couple on the podcast before, and you've responded with such disdain. Like, obviously, it's going to be ages ago. You wouldn't be asking me the question, and so as Fletch was asking that yesterday, I thought, Alice. What you say about 100 years ago, and it's like, okay, it's about 90 years ago.
Sorry, I'm ruining pod segments.
We saw him for 45 minutes yesterday. I didn't see the Como game, but we saw him for 45 minutes in the pre-season the week before. How big of an impact do we think Bruno Guimaraes is going to make this season? Because I have to say, I wanted a midfield addition to our team. It wasn't necessarily that kind of midfielder until that was being made, and I can see the logic in it and everything for why we've done it. But is this?
It's one of them things, and it's like you just wanted something to watch your movies on, and somebody gave you a giant widescreen telly out of nowhere or whatever. It's kind of like just a thing of like you just said, we weren't really in the market for that kind of guy. But when it comes, you're like, 100%, yeah. Like I said to Ocean the other day, my son, of like, I've never gone from despising a player so much to the opposite so quickly with any type of player before. Like I had so much contempt for that man when he was a Newcastle player. Like, I searched his name in our WhatsApp, and boy, that man was getting some...
I've been impressed to watch the turnaround myself. Do you know what? This is something going. I was eager to see if Enzo did sign for
He was making mistakes yesterday, and the fans are going, Bruno.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, boys.
Yeah, when I lost my phone, I've got everything back other than my WhatsApp logs, and I did like doing that with players, seeing what someone had said about them before. There's an interview Arteta did after we'd won the league, and I can't remember the question, but it kind of culminated in him being asked, have you questioned whether your players are too nice? And he said something along the lines of, that's something I've been asking myself across the last week. And then you look at the players we've been linked with in the meantime, and you think Bruno Guimaraes and Romero being two of the prominent ones. Maybe there is a bit of something that if we are to go again, let's have a bit of something different pumped in here.
He was asked after you'd won the league.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird question to answer.
I can't remember the tee up. I remember seeing the quote as soon as we were linked with Bruno again.
Because with all due respect, if you watched Arsenal last season, I don't think you came away thinking much too nice, that team. Way too nice.
Get that, yeah.
Too friendly.
There had to be something in Romero as well. They said the link was because we've got Gabriel Ainse and he's Argentinian. And it's like, if I'm going to go somewhere, you could offer me a job in Argentina and you tell me I'm going to be working with someone English. I'm not going to assume I'm going to like them just because they're English.
Yeah, but that's what English people do, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you
should assume that, though.
If you sign two German players in one window, it's like, well, they'll get along. Well, they've got no evidence that they'll get along.
Clearly, they're flatmates. Yeah.
I said Romero was pushing for the move, and it was because Ainse's there. And I said, have they met? Do they get along, or is he just banking on?
I mean, if I had to guess two personalities that would get along, I'd say Gabriel Ainse and Christian Romero would fit.
Yeah, they probably would.
Yeah, I think Bruno will make a difference. I think where we said about Saliba and maybe perhaps missing that, maybe that just does open something up, just a bit more ingenuity in our passing that we lacked, specifically in the last 8 weeks of the season. The Newcastle one being a real example for me, where we just could not get the ball back. So adding a bit of tenaciousness in there.
Yeah.
Because I keep saying, well, it's to keep Declan Rice fresh. You could have used Norgard 15 games last season to keep Declan Rice fresh.
Yeah.
You need someone Arteta's going to trust, and there we go.
I think also with just lastly on a player like Bruno, like there was too many times last season of like what you just said where the writing was on the wall dead early. We're not going anywhere today. And hopefully, like you say, with a player like that adds a little extra something to, help unlock some defences.
Couple more questions and I'll get your predictions. So we've seen Christos Zolis right from our first preseason game, 2 assists yesterday in the Community Shield. TK, if I go to you first, I won't ask you how excited you are by him, but how good do you think he looks?
It's a good pickup for the money spent, doesn't it? He looks like he should do what it says on the tin. I know he's been seen as a Trossard replacement, and it feels that sort of mould. Obviously, his stats from last year look great, but it's hard to tell. Club Brugge, I don't know really what that means.
So he's got a goal or an assist in his last 30 competitive appearances.
I think it's a goal every other game. I think he was averaging as well. So even just goals, it's impressive. But the shift he put in yesterday was probably as much as what Arteta's, we know what he's like. He probably brought him in for as well. So that was impressive. I like the header for the second goal, for obviously not the biggest guy to be able to do that. I think it's a good squad player. If you're looking to move Martinelli on, I'd be looking for a starter in that place and someone who fits that mould of replacing Martinelli's sort of skill set, I would guess, which I've kind of banged on about previously on pods with you, that I think you just need a better version of the skills he brings in terms of pace and directness on that flank. You just need a better version of him. I don't know, like Vinny, maybe.
He looks like someone who can just go forever as well, doesn't he? He looks like the sort of player that you could rely on game after game after game, and he's not going to break down on you, touch wood. And a big numbers guy, apparently. Everybody's been saying in the pre-season that this guy's just been on absolute fire with everything, topping the pops on all sorts. So, hopefully that's good sign of things to come.
I remember you and others on the time were saying he's a bit of a shoot on sight guy. So I was thinking pre-game, getting the shots on target. Nope.
When he compared himself to David Villa was when I thought, okay, you better be good at this point.
No, what?
It was like not even just David Villa. It was like a bit of David Villa, and then it was like there was
another obscure player. I can't remember who.
Players that Hall of Fame players.
Yeah, it's like, just like slipping in, like, I know about football. Yeah,
that pass for
Mambo
Odegaard,
number 5, but with great footballers. A little bit of David Villa.
Yeah.
The season could be entirely different if just Odegaard shows up in the kind of mood he was in yesterday.
Yeah,
that was something that I was meaning to bring up. My 8-year-old son has given me this to say that basically his pick for the season, the player that's going to be the main guy, is going to be Odegaard, and he predicted that on day one of pre-season, like on our first, in his first game back. He was like, "Dad, I think Odegaard is going to be cooking this year." I said, "Well, son, let's see." He looks like he stays fit.
I've listened to previous pre-season pods. That's much better take than most that have been offered.
It's as good as this going to get.
The 8-year-old lad has produced more than we have.
He looks like he can just take a challenge this year, which last season he could not do. He was getting killed anytime. Yeah, I've probably just
reading too much into one game. He did look sharp though.
Yeah. All right. I would say something to look out for, and this is just to kind of sneak this in, is how we defend corners to start the season. We know what we're like on them, but at the end of last season, right through this preseason, we've been so poor. It's like the boxer that's blessed with a power punch and a weak chin. It's been horrible. So I'll see what happens with Coventry on Friday.
Yeah, it was a big sign of how important David Raya is to us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he handles a lot of that. Whereas when we had in pre-season, Kepa was letting all of those in.
Before I get your predictions, Troy, let me hit you with a few quick-fire questions. So, first of all, who plays more minutes this season, Dowman or Madueke?
Madueke.
Who starts more games next season, Odegaard or Eze?
Odegaard.
Who plays more minutes next season, Lewis Skelly or Zubamendi?
Lewis Skelly.
Who plays in the Cup, Meslier or Kepa?
Meslier.
And was Arteta under more pressure to win the league last season or retain it this season?
To win it last season.
Let's get your predictions then to close out. So, first of all, do you have your top 6?
Yeah, so the top 6 have gone with Arsenal, City, United, then Chelsea, then Liverpool, then Villa. That's my top 6.
Relegated?
Sunderland, Ipswich and Hull.
Okay. Top scorer after Haaland?
Isaac.
Biggest overperformer?
Bournemouth.
Okay. Underachiever?
Newcastle.
First manager sacked?
Maresca.
A bold prediction?
The Arse to go unbeaten at home all season.
Okay.
In any games, full unbeaten.
And then lastly, maybe you've just told us a player outside of the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season.
Mars Lewis Skelly.
Okay, I like that. More of the same from yesterday, I think. But on that note, Troy, we'll get someone else in the hot seat. Thank you very much. Adios. All right, we've got Brad joining us now, as you can see. So, Brad, United surprised a lot of people last season. They were 7 points behind second place, but 6 points ahead of third place. How are we feeling going into this one? Do you think United are trending upwards or downwards?
I think towards the end of last season, we were definitely trending upwards. So we'll see how we finish. We played really well. And then obviously there was a lot of talk about, we're definitely going to get the back in now in the transfer window that obviously we were all expecting. It's obviously not quite happened with only Tielemans and Andre Santos coming in, if you take out Darlow and a couple of youth lads. I'm not sure. Obviously the pre-season friendlies haven't been convincing. Saturday definitely not. Still need a couple, I think, and obviously there's still a couple of weeks left, but yeah, I think ultimately they're going to be expected to do big things because of how they finished last season, but whether that continues, and I think largely a lot of my picks, which we'll get to obviously later on, are based on teams being in probably one competition. Give you a bit of a heads up, but on that basis, I think United may struggle a little bit because of playing in multiple. And I think obviously Rashford coming back is always going to help that, but
they hyped up that pre-season friendly as well. I saw the journalists putting it out. These players at United want to beat Amorim more than they want to beat AC Milan. 4 players didn't shake his hand before or after the game. I mean, they beat you 4-2 or something like that.
I mean, I think 3 of the goals were Luke Shaw's fault. To be fair, for some reason he thought he'd turned into a City inverted fullback, and we were like, "What are you doing?" And like 3 of the goals came from him not being in position. But
I'd be more concerned about the players that were hugging him and smiling with him after. It's like it didn't seem like you were that bothered about him when he was working.
I don't know the exact messaging that was put out there ahead of the transfer window by the kind of senior guys at United, but I know there was a feeling amongst fans that there was going to be some big additions. You touched on it there. A midfield rebuild was promised by the journalist close to the situation. I'm wondering how you feel if that midfield rebuild is Youri Tielemans and Andre Santos, because if you'd asked me as a rival fan, if you'd offered me that for United to have before the window, I'd have taken that.
Yeah, I think it's not the rebuild I'd be ultimately happy with. Tielemans is a great signing, love him as a player, but ultimately Kobbie Mainoo was the guy who got on the ball and dictated play for us last year. It wasn't Casemiro. He's in there to break things up and give the ball to the better players, or more attacking players, should we say. The fact we've not really replaced that, I know Andre Santos did that a little bit for Strasbourg, but he's not exactly known for that. He's more, again, a ball player. So it looks like the way that Carrick wants to play now is try and control games in possession. But a lot of the reasons we were so good last season was we defended well and then played really quickly on the counter-attack, which you're not going to get with Tielemans, really. You know, I mean, he can play a pass there, but he's not going to travel with the ball. So,
yeah, which of those midfielders can play with each other, isn't it? Is the question.
Well, so listed as senior midfielders on the Man United website, you've got Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo, Mason Mount, Andre Santos, Youri Tielemans, Manuel Ugarte, we know has done his cruciate, so he's going to be out for the season. Jack and Tyler Fletcher and Toby Collier. Where does that rank in comparison to the other midfields in the league for you? You can either do it by the collective or you can do it best 3 to best 3 if you'd prefer.
I think even if you do it best 3, you're still looking at like 7th or 8th, really. Like you look at the Tottenham midfield, even the Tottenham midfield is better than Arsenal, clearly. City, now they've lost Rodri. Obviously, Kovacic didn't do it himself any favours yesterday.
He's still there, though.
I don't know how he's still there, but obviously Elliot Anderson, and then you probably have Ryan Cherky as your 10. Obviously, other than Bruno being better than Ryan Cherky, I don't think. Yeah, I'd probably put you 6th or 7th, or put us 6th or 7th in that.
You like their additions?
Sorry?
Do you like their additions?
I do like the addition. I think Tielemans for that money, I think Prem Proven is good. I would probably just expected alongside it, that more of a stopper type of midfielder. Yeah. If they'd brought in, and I don't think I do like him, but Tchouaméni, I know not everyone's fully convinced by him, but it's that type of midfielder where you go, where he can sit in and look after this and let the players play. I think Andre Santos, in terms of how he's spoken about, and even Chelsea fans did like what they saw from him, I think has potential. And it's a bit of it's a shame that £50 million is kind of just potential now, apparently. So there's a bit of pressure there, and I think they probably should have got another one alongside that.
I was sure they were going to get Tonali. I was convinced from April onwards that that's who they were going to get.
Yeah. And some of the, I think, I gather from speaking to some United fans and seeing some online, there's kind of some frustration that it seems like the club's hierarchy are doing the thing that clubs do where they kind of index themselves to a player like Tonali or like Bruno G, for example. And then when it comes to being like, well, we weren't going to pay that. And so, were you ever in for this guy? It feels like you weren't. You were just doing that to keep the fans at bay. Yeah. And now, you are where you are.
I think the only one being talked about now really is Manu Kone. Yeah. Although I did see Wharton linked to us yesterday, which again isn't the breaker player that you want.
No, and you're also, you're going to go to Palace right just before the end of the window, lads. We're going to try and take one of your best players. They're going to go, we'll charge you a mint for that. Yeah. Whereas Kone, I can see that he's a good player anyway, but also you should be able to get him for Serie A money rather than Premier League money, shouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Looks like a lot of fan bases are waiting to see just how much to get onto their ownership when they see how well Sangare looks at Brentford because of how well linked he was with everyone else.
Exactly.
And the fact he fell there. I think I said coming into last season that you had an argument for the best front three in the league with Cunha and Burmo and Sesko. I wonder how you feel about Rashford being added into that mix alongside Ahmad and Xerxes, where he sits and what role he has to play this season.
Well, I think it just gives you that flexibility when you're playing in two competitions. When you're playing Europe and the Prem, it gives you the flexibility to mix it up. And I think what you'll see a lot from United is in away games, Sesko doesn't play, and you'll see a front three of like Ahmad, Cunha, and Burmo up top, and that'll be your front three. Or you'd have Rashford and Burmo, Ahmad, or some mixture of those four with Sesko sat on the bench coming on if needed. Where I think a lot of home games, I guess, especially against the lesser sides as such, we'll play Sesko because we'll be putting the ball out wide and trying to put more crosses in the box.
Interesting.
So I think in terms of Rashford, I think he fits into that quite nicely, especially because he is so good against the big six. Against Trent, he used to have field days. He always played well against you guys. He's always done well in those big games where he's got a bit more freedom to play on the counter-attack. Where he struggled was when someone like Wan-Bissaka at West Ham, for example, sat back against him. It was one-on-one, you had to try and keep beating him. And
you as a collective have tended to, haven't you?
Yeah,
you have to counter-attack teams, but breaking teams down, you've been like...
Ben White doesn't like seeing Rashford come in.
No.
Do you think Rashford... Sorry.
So what does a good season for Sesko look like as well, is the thing?
I'll ask you about Sesko.
Okay, fair enough. We'll keep on Rashford.
Do you think Rashford is happier to be back at United, or United are happier to have Rashford back?
I think a lot of that... Like, I've always liked Rashford, so I can't really say too much bad about him, but from what I've seen, a lot of United fans are like, you need to prove something to us now, because...
You seem in the minority that's relatively happy to have him back, I will say. Most of them seem like they wanted him shot of him pretty much no matter what.
But also, the regime under Amorim, where it was like a 3-4-2-1, where he knows he's now an out-and-out winger. He's not going to be a 9.
Yeah.
So a 3-4-2-1, which is an inverted winger, effectively, it doesn't suit him at all.
It's never going to work, no.
So then they're like, oh, well, he's not working hard. And it's like, well, yeah, but he's normally out wide. He gets a little bit of freedom because you don't have to do as much tracking back doing that. And therefore, so for me, I'm not against having him back. I'm glad we got rid of like Sancho, for example, because just don't rate him at all anyway. But yeah, Rashford's one of those where I'm personally glad to have him back, but I also understand some Man United fans are going to want big things from him because the fact he's left for the last 2 seasons on loan.
What do we think the club thinks? So Arsenal are in the market for a left winger, desperate for one. Do you think come the end of the window, they offered the 40 million that was supposedly Rashford's clause? Do you think United say, we wouldn't mind getting those wages off our books? We've kind of had our time with him, we'll let him go somewhere else? Or do you think they're saying, it's actually saved us a bit of cash having him back in here? He can be a good option. He's committed to it.
I think if the 40 million comes in, they'd let him go.
To Arsenal?
Yeah. I don't think they'd really care who they got the thing from. But
I bet it wouldn't be us.
Yeah.
Wouldn't give us Gabriel Heinze and Marcus Rashford.
But the United fans would be absolutely fuming about it because unless they signed him
just to...
No, but unless they signed 2 or 3 players between now and then we're like at the end of the thing, right, Rashford, you can go. But if they don't sign anyone else and then let Rashford go, the fans will go. It's absolutely mental about it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you saw last season from Carrick that you think he's going to try to build on this season stylistically? Maybe there's something that he'll be able to take more risks with now that he has some more job security. You could see him something that he was trying to work into his system last time, or do you think we're going to see more of the same?
A lot of it will be similar, but a lot of it will be Tielemans or Mainu and basically dropping deep and in between the 2 centre halves, getting on the ball there, and then breaking lines from there, which we did, to be fair, excellently against City at home when we beat them. But yeah, my worry is, do those midfielders that we've got, do they break up the play enough? So they're all good in possession. How good are they out of possession? Which is what Casemiro was obviously so good at. And also, Casemiro scored, 8-9 goals last season?
True.
So, yeah. Do you see any of those midfielders breaking 5? Maybe Tielemans, but the other 2 might get 1 or 2, or maybe 3 for Mainu. But the deeper he plays, obviously, the less likely that's going to be.
Yeah.
Tielemans' goals would look a lot nicer than Casemiro's did.
No, there's nothing better than Casemiro arriving at the back post and heading one past the keeper.
Bruno had a historic year last year, even if it looked a little bit tragic at the end to everyone outside of Man United. The year before, Salah had a historic season, and the Liverpool fans that were on here were saying he's probably not going to do quite the same again, but if he maintains a certain level, we've bought Isak, Ekitike, Wirtz, and they should be able to make up the difference. I'm wondering, can United rack up the same points tally if he doesn't have the same season again? Like, do you have the players that can supplement those numbers if he doesn't?
In terms of assists, I don't think any individual player will. But I do think there's enough quality in the squad to create the chances he created. But you say that, he should have genuinely had about 35 assists last season. Some of the chances that we missed last season was an absolute joke. There was, I think Sesko, there was one from Yoro away at Newcastle or Burnley. I think it was Newcastle. He's like headed it from like 2 yards out and he slits it straight at Pope. And he made like 3 chances in that game alone, and he didn't get an assist.
I remember that Sesko one where he dropped to his knees at the end of the game in a game that you'd won.
That was Tottenham. I was there. He like kicked one into him and he's just headed it straight at Vicario at the end.
He's not chasing records though. It's just so you know.
Sesko's confidence then grew as the season went on, but to me at least, it never felt like he had to reckon with or carry the burden of being United's number 9. The guy you kind of look to when you need a goal, rather than being, almost felt like a bit of a bonus every time he got on the score sheet last season. I wonder what the path looks like for him this season. Is he going to be eased in again? Is he going to be dropped in? Is he going to be told the shirt's his and it's up to him as far as he goes? Well, what are we expecting for Sesko in season 2?
I think, to be honest, a lot of what United think about it will come within the next week, because we've got to announce the squad numbers in the next week. So if they do as what they're saying is give Sesko the 9, then I think that'll say, as a club, we're thinking, right, you're the main guy now, so you've got to start showing it.
That's the Lukaku shirt, mate. You got to step up.
See how this works with Rodri at Barca. He said he wanted the 16, and so Fermin Lopez has said, well, I want the number 7 shirt then. And so Fermin Lopez is the Barcelona number 7 next season.
Yeah, so I think that will show what United think of it. I think, for me, like I said, I don't think he'll play a lot of home games against the lesser sides in the league and the Champions League, but I think in those bigger games against the top 6, or so say top 6, I think you'll see a different front three without Sesko, unless he's like on a run of, I've scored a goal in the last 3 or 4, because he's also got that pace to play on the counter attack. He's not slow.
Well, yeah, that's.
But also, I think you just have probably a little bit better decision making from someone like Mbeumo playing in the 9.
Yeah, something towards the end. Yeah, towards the end of last season, I thought Sesko, he had that run, didn't he, where he's scoring off the bench, and people were like, right, he has to start. And then when he does start, and you're like, well, I can see why he's a much better impact than this point.
The Trossard.
And he doesn't really want to kind of drop in and link up the play too much. He kind of wants to stretch teams because he's like lightning quick and obviously a big lad. And so, those situations, as you touched on there, where if you're looking to break a team down, sometimes it's going to be maybe you want him on because you want to get the ball, want to get balls into it. But there's other times where you're going to go, we want someone to drop in and kind of drag players out of position. Is he going to do that so much?
I don't know if that one compilation of his touched either of your timelines this week, and we've kind of done our Arsenal segment, but it was a weird thing where I felt comfortable in the decision that we made to take Gyökeres last season. I genuinely think if we have Sesko instead of Gyökeres last season, we don't win the league. But watching Sesko...
Really? I think you would.
Well, I think 3-4 times Gyökeres, if nothing else, has won the game just through sheer grit and determination, and Sesko wasn't prepared to fight Kai Havertz for the shirt. And that's enough for me to say, Goodison away, Christmas, taking a penalty, Bournemouth taking it. I just don't believe that Sesko would have done it.
Somebody else would have taken those penalties. Like Sesko probably wouldn't.
We've also saw what happened when other players took the penalties for Arsenal last season.
Sure. Yeah. But it's I don't know, some of the Gyökeres won us this game sort of thing. I think somebody else might have won you another game where he didn't win it for you. You know what I mean?
Do you not think Sesko scores? Was it Havertz header at City? Or was it Gyökeres?
That was Havertz, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I actually don't. I'm not sure Sesko has the stones for that game. But what I was going to say was, come the back end of the season, I also thought, as most said, if at that point we were picking a striker for the next 5, 6, 7 years, it was a no-brainer. And I do think Sesko, as soon as he realises how big and strong he is going to be a different player. Because at this point, he seems to play like he's the size of Cunha or Bruno or whatever and get knocked around. And as soon as he bombs those arms out like that,
I don't know if you've seen many of the pictures from pre-season, but he's clearly been working the gym quite a bit.
On the Bayern Munich diet.
Yeah. But he hasn't played a minute in pre-season.
No one really points out the ones where the player bulks up, other than Kai Havertz that one year. The rest of them is just, if you come back fat, Casemiro last season, the pictures of him, I'm still perplexed that Fabio Vieira's lost weight over the summer, which was bad for me. But I look at the winger combinations that you can play this year, and I wonder, do you think they're there to complement him or he's there to complement them? Because Rashford is a shoot-first winger, and Burma, I would say, is a shoot-first winger. Cunha and Ahmad probably are too, but they're closer to the middle than the other two. And I just think if he did work on that hold-up, then it would be a far nicer mix, I think.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that you'll get from Rashford and Burma that you won't get as much from Cunha and Ahmad is that willingness to run in behind. Like, if it goes into a front man, it gets dropped into the 10, and then you've got that third man run through. You'll get that more from Mbeumo and Thing. So it's something he's got to work on. But then I do think Cunha's going to be the starting guy on the left. So you're probably less likely to see Rashford. And yeah, Mbeumo and Ahmad, they both played really well in pre-season, so it's going to be difficult for Carrick to drop either of them, which is why I also think that you're probably going to see a lot of Ahmad and Burma up top and Cunha on the left.
I'm going to gloss over, is there a reason Sesko's not played any minutes in pre-season?
He's been injured, hasn't he?
Okay, because he wasn't at the World Cup.
No, he's coming back from injury and he's just bulked up.
Okay. Well, yeah, because what does a good season for Sesko look like? Just because it seemed last year he had kind of no expectations, really, it seems.
Let me ask you my quick fire one now. Do you think Sesko scores over or under 12 league goals next season?
Over.
Okay. And then you say that's a good season.
I think
a good season.
I think 15 for him.
Him having the 9 shirt, not literally, but him convincingly being United's starting striker by the end of the season, I think is a good season for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think he has to be, doesn't he? I think he probably benefited from how much of a crisis United were in at the beginning of last season, and Amorim took the flat for that, rightly so, by and large. But he didn't really seem to get any of the... He got more time for a big money United striker than I've ever seen anyone given. And I just, like this year, I kind of think the sort of the stabilisers have got to be off for me.
I think the good thing for us is, obviously, we didn't go and spend 100 million plus on a player. So because we signed the 3 players for 60, 70 million and they all scored the 10 goals, it was kind of then, okay, they've signed 30 goals.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you've also spent 200 million for 30 goals. So
it's mad that a year later, if you go for Cunha, Wolves could genuinely say in this market, we want 100 million for him.
Yeah.
The same thing for Mbeumo. And the same would probably happen for Sesko if you were going for all 3 of those.
If Sesko played in the Premier League for someone, you'd be looking at that. But I don't think
if the Premier League club's charging 100, Leipzig are going to say 120, so it might have been even worse. Just Cunha would be the one there. You kind of touched on the fact that you're going to be playing in Europe. How much of a drop off should we expect from this side having to play in Europe's next season, and how much should we consider that Carrick's not had to manage that before? There were Iraola, but it's not been pointed out for Carrick as far as I've seen in this pre-season.
No, I mean...
He'd have more of an experience of having done it himself as a player, maybe.
And the only thing I would say he has managed in the Championship, where you've got to play midweek a lot, is the only... I don't think it's the same thing.
Yeah, but this is where it comes down to the squad depth, doesn't it? Because at the moment, we've ultimately got 1 left-back, really. And you can obviously play Mazraoui there, but he's not a left-back. He's a
our left-back is not playing that many games.
No, our left-back is definitely not playing that many games. We still need another centre out because you can't rely on De Ligt. You've obviously got Aiden Heaven, but it looks like they're trying to move Yoro to right back from what I've seen in pre-season.
That's a fall from grace.
Just rip up all of my questions I was about to ask.
Oh, sorry.
I've just ticked off about 5 of them.
And then the midfield, you've obviously got 3 ultimately filling 2 spaces, and it'll be interesting to see how many games Bruno plays, because obviously
every game.
What
you're all playing.
The thing is, obviously, Mount's now injured again, so
there's a shocker.
Galatasaray have offered for Bruno this afternoon.
Yeah, I did see. United knocked it back there, didn't they?
43 million they've offered. 3 million more than they offered for Martinelli.
He has only got a year left on the deal, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But so one of the things that he said last year was, I want to see that we're actually going to be ambitious. Yeah.
I saw a lot of United fans fuming about that, saying like he wanted to see ambition, and we've signed Andre Santos and Yuri Tillemans. Sorry, lads.
Okay, let me.
And Carl Darlow. Don't forget Carl Darlow.
I mean, play to the man.
He's going to be our second choice though, because Because Byron is not going to be. I'm assuming he goes back to Turkey at some point in the transfer.
I think he's been sold.
Has he been sold
Yeah.
now? He hasn't been around the squad in any of the games. So we've had like Dermot Mee, who's like,
I saw how victimised Newcastle fans had been when they were annoyed with Fabrizio not calling Darlow an ex-Newcastle keeper on one of his tweets. There's got to be something better to be worked up about. Let me ask you some quick fire questions then that you may or may not have answered already. Yes or no, Luke Shaw will play over 25 league games next season?
well, it depends who we sign in the next 2 weeks, but I assume he probably, yes. But if he does, he won't be playing many games in Europe.
You're not getting Lewis Hall. I would probably rule that out pretty quickly, find someone else.
No, I think we're now in for... I saw it this morning.
From Spain?
Yeah, Spanish left back.
Who scores more goals, Rashford or Ahmad?
Premier League goals?
Yeah.
Rashford.
Will Kobbie Mainoo start more games from the bench or the first 11?
First 11.
Where's he fitting in?
It'll be Kobbie and Tielemans.
Andre Santos getting dropped?
He'll play in Europe.
I hope that's the midfield three.
What?
Put Mainoo next to Tielemans.
Yeah.
There might be more athleticism in your midfield than theirs.
Thank you.
Their midfielder ran the most in the World Cup. You put some respect on his name.
Yes, he did.
I don't think he's going to be starting.
And he's streamlined now.
Will Dorgu start more games in defence or attack?
Hopefully neither.
Forgot about him.
But probably attack.
I wasn't in a position to moan too much at the time. How he got away with that handball, that blatant handball at the Emirates last season is... Now, if you score a goal like that, I'm perhaps in favour of saying we just allow it, but...
Also, the fact he didn't handball it also helps, but...
Punched it. Who will have a better season, Aidan Heaven or Lenny Yoro?
Aidan Heaven.
See the clip of his mum on one of those United podcasts? You can see I'm across everything with the amount of things I've referenced. He was on one of those awful United ones. And she was kind of selling it like she was gloating almost that she was arguing with Per Mertesacker about whether her son was a centre-back or not. And it's
I saw the quote from it. I can't
Mertesacker saying, like, he's a centre-back, and they're saying, no, he's not. He's a midfielder.
And doesn't she conclude, like, yeah, it turns out Mertesacker was right? It's like, well, yeah, who knew?
And you've answered the Sesko question, so let's get your prediction.
Are we just assuming, by the way, that Rashford does stay? There's no move now?
I think the market has to be us at this point and nobody else.
No one else is coughing up the wages apart from anything, are they, for him?
Unless someone from Turkey or Saudi comes over.
And I actually don't believe they would sell him to us at this stage. I think it would have had to be before he's done the whole squad number thing and put the colours back on again and all of that.
I think the frustrating thing for us is obviously, admittedly, people have been at a World Cup and stuff, but we knew we needed a left back from the start of the end of last season, because you knew Luke Shaw at 31 isn't going to play.
Well, I know it's doing the rounds, but that thing of your strongest back four now is still the same as it was like 4 years ago. 5 years ago is spot on, and how you haven't sort of replenished that or brought at least people to, like, you spoke about the injuries there. Lissandro's, you can chalk him up for a month to 2 months out.
Yeah, this is why I've probably gone Aidan Heaven over Yoro, because I think Maguire will be fitter than Leacher, so Aidan Heaven's probably going to play more because he plays on the left.
All right, let me get your predictions then before we get someone else in the seat. Let's get your top six in order.
Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, Liverpool, Brentford.
Where was City there, sorry?
Fourth.
Okay.
Below United.
Hence me saying I made my predictions last week before the Community Shield.
We saw his notes to verify it.
Yeah. Who's getting relegated?
The three that came up, I've got Hull, Ipswich, Coventry. However, if Palace lose Wharton, they go down.
Top scorer after Haaland?
João Pedro.
Name is Jack. Biggest overperformer?
Brentford. I like Jadon Anthony, and obviously they've signed this midfielder to replace Henderson that obviously a lot of people were tipped by.
Biggest underachiever?
Villa.
First manager sacked?
The Palace manager, Pierre Sargay, or whatever his name.
Bold prediction.
Villa outside the top 10.
Oh, bloody hell.
Does Unai get sacked if you just want to tickle me here? Or does he have to see it out?
Potentially. Although I have actually put...
Not sure which is more satisfying there.
I was about to say, I don't know which one you wanted more there.
I put Villa outside the top 10, but Unai does always have a way of proving me wrong. So, unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen.
He was showing signs of doing Unai things towards the end of last season. They just about got it back round. But
yeah.
And last one, player outside the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season.
Well, I don't know if it's obvious. I did ask you the question, but Brian and Burma for me. I think he lost a bit of sharpness towards the end of last season. He seems to have got that back in pre-season. He looks really, really sharp. Came back early from his break, and yeah, he's looking good. So,
all right, thank you very much. We'll move on.
Cheers, gents.
All right, Sean. When we had our conversation ahead of last season, Tottenham had been battered with injuries, and so you were prepared to drop your expectations from top 4 to top 6. After a second successive 17th place finish, how can you possibly apply any expectations to this season?
Well, in my defence, the injuries did happen again, so that was unfortunate. But I mean, the only way is up, apart from actually being relegated. So there's a big window there to have a successful season.
And at this point, would it not be more entertaining to just go down rather than stay up again and leave it late?
I mean, there were people flirting. I'm not saying I was one of them. There were some people flirting with, it could be good to go down.
I love that take. I speak to any fan who's been relegated and be like, no, obviously not.
I saw West Ham fans doing that and then going, for fuck's sake, when they conceded 2 in the last 10 minutes yesterday.
Well, because the only upside to going down is if you do piss the Championship, you're going to see your team win week in, week out. But there's a very realistic chance you go down and you do not piss the Championship.
So you got De Zerbi in with 7 games to go, gave him a big contract for the privilege, a big bonus if he kept you up, and it appears a big budget for this season. Bit of a big question. How do you feel about the work that's been done? How comfortable are you with Tottenham spending 85 million, 100 million on players, and I guess the expectations that come with it all?
Yeah, I think the financial money wise, relatively comfortable. I think the figures are obviously only going up, right? It seems like every season what used to be a £15 million player is now like 35, 40 and so on. So that element's fine. And then also I suppose from a net spends perspective, we've sold a lot of players as well, from like Vuskovic and Spencer Romero, which you could argue should have maybe more, but it's obviously recouped. And then we've sold some academy players as well. So from that element, fine. In terms of the players that we brought in, generally good. I think Van Hecker and Senesi are good signings, especially Senesi on a free, obviously. I think from a passing perspective, they're obviously a lot better than what we had, and especially with Romero going out the door as well. So that's positive. Robertson offers a bit of something different there, and I guess cover, because can't rely on a doggy's fitness. And then the midfield is obviously massively improved with Fernandes and Tonali. So I think the moves have been good, but I'd say right now, obviously, attack is still the main issue. We've got Kudus, Alderweireld, Kulusevski all still injured. Maddison's only played a little bit. Can't really rely on him either. So front line, you're looking at similar. You're looking at Richarlison, Solanke, which isn't the best situation at the moment. So I think where we're at now is the floor is definitely improved. I think I would imagine, 1 game a week, players stay fit, then you should be looking at getting into Europe. But the odds of like top 4, I think would struggle with that front line at the moment.
So he is quite a polarising figure, I think, De Zerbi. How are you finding the experience with him at the helm at Tottenham?
I mean, fine right now, but obviously it's it's early days. Right, I can't remember how many games he actually had. Like 8 to 10.
7.
Seven. Okay. So obviously only had 7 games. So, and anything other than going down was a big success. So I think we'll know more once we get into the season. Like at the moment, we've seen, the environment or culture seems quite positive. But yeah, just have to see if we obviously start off rough or take a while to get a win on the board, then it might change. He's obviously got a history of like a fiery character, and so it could all come crashing down. But for right now, it's positive, I think.
At both Brighton and Marseille, he quit when the going got tough. Any concerns about that? Because things are going to get tough at Tottenham.
They are, yeah. I mean, I guess it's need to see what the board's intent is. Obviously, it seems like you could look at it 2 ways, right? You could look at, since Levy's gone, they spent loads of money this summer. They broke their transfer record twice. Could that be an indication of their plans going forward, or could it be obviously they're very close to getting relegated, so they have to do this now, and then once we're cemented, are they going to drop off again? So I think that's probably linked. Like if he's paying for a team that's getting into Europe, and the board are consistently giving him money to spend, then I'm sure we'll be happy. It's if they drop that, then yeah, things get tough, and that is a worry. I guess the other part to that is clearly they needed to get him in, but they've obviously given him a lot of power and, let's say so, in terms of the targets and who we're going for. So if he then leaves, where does that leave the team? Where does that leave the strategy in terms of the players that are there at the moment, or players you get going forward? So it is a worry, but desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's what I thought was interesting. I thought if I was looking at something to sum up Tottenham for next season and where they were going, I would look at Vuskovic going out and Van Hecke going in, and maybe I would think that's telling me something. I don't know if that signals anything to you, or if it's as simple as maybe Vuskovic wasn't as good as Tottenham hoped. Maybe he was the only sellable asset for that amount of money, and you'd kind of promised De Zerbi that you were going to get him what he wanted, and Van Hecke just happened to be that. Because this was supposed to be...
Yeah.
You were in for Saliba in the same window that we were. Basically had him, he goes to us, and so it's almost like you were looking for the next top centre-back to go and buy. You did the right thing. You loan him out a few seasons. This was supposed to be when he comes back in. So Liverpool being linked with him. Brighton obviously stump up enough cash to go and get him, and here we are.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of timing not really working. I mean, obviously he came back and said, I want to go. He wants to start. And there's an argument with Romero leaving. Could he have ended up
should have been
starting?
perfect timing in many ways, shouldn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe there were some worries, and to your point, yeah, maybe they knew that they had to obviously do this midfield rebuild, and that was one of the bigger sellable assets that we had, so that's why they decided to go for it. So yeah, I guess time will tell. Sorry, go on.
Similar money being spent on Van Hecke went out with Vucevic, right? So
yeah.
it feels that feels like the most we're going to indulge De Zerbi move of all of these to me, where if he got sacked tomorrow, Tonali, Fernandes, whatever, they're good to go for this club for a good few years. You would look at these ones, if Vuskovic does well at Brighton and Van Hecke just does okay at Spurs or bad, then I think people would look at it and go, well, hang on a minute, why would we doing this? And it was entirely probably just because he said, I want Van Hecke, we have to go out and get him.
Yeah. I mean, Vuskovic did look a bit spooky in the England-Croatia game, and he is obviously slow from that's the main thing against him, right? So maybe he'll suit a team that are, I mean, I don't know, Brighton often necessarily play like this, but we'll see. He may suit a team that's more low block, defensive in that sense. So it'd be interesting to see what he's like in a more progressive game. But yeah, you're right, that could come back to haunt us in some sense.
I've been asking Jack each season whether Chelsea are going to get better in the big games. I was going to ask you that, and I'm not even making a joke. I guess for Tottenham, worry about everyone else first, because those lesser games are the ones that get you back up there in the top half of the table, the European places.
Yeah,
too many games to Brentfords and the Brightons and Leeds and whoever else.
I mean, it was 17th. They were losing a lot of games.
Yeah, there's only a few teams that lost more. I think, well, yeah, definitely. Like, it obviously takes a while. There's obviously ability as a big part of it, but there's obviously a mental element to it as well. If you look back on the, I guess, like Poch eras, it still took like a few years to then get to the point where, yeah, we were then winning those big games at home. We beat Arsenal at home, or Chelsea, or United, or Liverpool, whoever it was. But it takes a while to get there. So I guess, yeah, first and foremost, it's focusing on, beating all the teams outside the top six, if you like, if we can. And then maybe I guess success would be trying to get at least one win on the board against those, trying to get a few draws in the home games as well. But yeah, you're right.
You expecting a closer North London derby?
I mean,
6-0 in the last 6.
Closer, sure, but I'm still not expecting wins necessarily. Definitely not at the Emirates. But.
If he can get Spurs rolling in the way that he got Brighton rolling at one point, then he will take scalps in some of these games. Because I think back to, they haunted us in a couple of games. They smashed us in the league and knocked us out the cup. So I'm sure you'd argue I've got more to work with at Spurs than I had there as well. So that's probably where I see them at this point this season. At some point in the season, I could see them going on one of those runs where it looks like it's clicked for De Zerbi at Spurs. It's just how long he can kind of make that last, isn't it?
And the big thing I keep seeing in the I guess pods I've listened to or like YouTubes and stuff that I've watched is about teams figuring out the last time De Zerbi was in the Prem, about how he builds up in through the middle and teams are forcing him wide, and he's having to adapt in that sense. And then like wingers and fullbacks are key. So, and at the moment that could be a struggle. Like if we got Savinho in, then you've got Savinho and Kudus, which a good 1v1. So that might be the way out of it. But at the moment, obviously one's not in, the other one's injured. You're looking at Moore playing there or Towell, and they're a bit unproven. So maybe I could see.
Name Mikey Moore.
Well, we're not. I don't think we're letting him go yet unless someone comes in. He's like, I think one's agreed, but it's not happening, and because otherwise, if he goes and we don't get anyone in, then we're pretty short there. So I think I could see us in a situation where, especially at the start, I think we'll look a bit better, but then actually getting the goals and going forward may still struggle a bit. So yeah, I'll be interested to see.
Let me ask you some tastier questions then. So how do you feel about Romero now that he's left, and how much differently would you be feeling about him if he had gone to Arsenal? And I guess to tax on there, is there enough feeling that it's been reported pretty widely now that he did want to join Arsenal?
I don't know how much that was actually true. Or is he just...
your ITK is reporting it, I saw ours.
No, but I don't get wrong, I agree that it would have gone out, but I'm just saying it's gone out as a ploy just to get the move to Madrid sorted, because I don't think he'd ever actually...
You're saying a second Madrid club, a second player has used us to get what they want with a Madrid club?
Yes, yeah, I agree. My view, though, I mean, there is like a revision. I keep seeing this tweet that goes out by lots of people saying he's our Europa League winning captain, forgetting that Son was the captain when we won it, and Romero was the captain the season after. So I think for a while he was. I do think he was very good, and I do think at one point his rashness or liability or all the stuff that got talked about was over-egged, because it was a while where he'd only had a few yellow cards. He hadn't actually been sent off that much, but obviously last season that went completely out of the window and just couldn't be reliable at all. And for as good as he may have been in the odd game, he'd have a lot more. He'd 3 or 4 games would be bad. He may be sent off, and then in the 5th or 6th one, and just wasn't very good. So it's a strange view. Ultimately, I think he was very good at one point, but the last season wasn't very good, and it was obviously time to move on. He wasn't. There's no way he could stay anymore.
Was it Liverpool he got sent off against, where you saw the challenge, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
He's been sent off against Liverpool, Chelsea,
in the same game where Isak got injured.
Yes, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Has he been sent off against Arsenal? can't remember if he has. Maybe late. Maybe he got sent off like late.
Yeah, I seem to remember one. The Emerson Royale one is springing to mind with the Instagram story of him dancing afterwards. But
he is Romero is one of the most extreme examples of he is neither as good nor as bad as most people would have you believe. I don't know. Everyone seems to either overrate or underrate the guy. It's a weird one.
I was amazed how many Arsenal fans bought into the transfer on the basis that it would be funny, when I was thinking, you're paying a decent amount, even if it's not a huge fee, you'd be paying a decent wage for someone that collectively we've all said and have called shit for about 3 years. And
it's an expensive gag, I have to say.
A week of jokes, like Paddy Power will do a little advert.
I mean, I would loved it.
There's nothing.
Yeah, the neutrals would have loved it, but yeah.
Even for me, when Arsenal fans were saying it, I was like, I guess it'll be funny for a day. Like, there'll be some Spurs fans, but I think it would have been the most perfect thing in their case to send him in. The perfect vibes that we've got right now, and you send that bastard into the middle of it.
Man in behind. Yeah.
And at
I
some
think
point,
he's... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, but if he's in there for Saliba, when Saliba comes back, I think he's going to sit on the bench peacefully.
Yeah, that's it.
He's primed for... No, I mean, I know people can obviously consume more football now, back to when we were kids, but he's primed for like when Atletico play in a Champions League game and they'll put in a great game. Yeah. People say like how great he was, missing the awful shockers he's put in La Liga.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, don't envy whichever club draws them in the Champions League, because he's going to have a stormer against them.
I can judge it pretty easily that I'm quite gutted that he's leaving, and that's as simple as I can put it. I would rather he was at Tottenham, this version of him.
I've seen loads of Arsenal fans tweets about Vicario leaving as well.
Yeah,
saying how gutted they are.
Vicario, I was trying to think with him how I would compare him, because last season Lloris in my mind was so bad. The one against us, Saka's like crossed it in, and he's somehow got his hands like on the other side of the ball to palm it into the net. And yeah, for him to be
probably fairly close.
Pretty quickly everyone thought, ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask you, actually. I watched the Atletico Madrid first leg with you, which we had a good day. Maybe it wasn't a great end of the day for you. But if I told you on that evening that going into next season, Kinski would be your number one, how would you have reacted that night? So we went, I think, at 4-0. It's just that we go and play bowling. We were bowling and curling to end the game.
If you told him that
the races, wasn't it? I was forgetting.
Yeah.
He'd have been throwing himself down the bowling alley if you told him.
Went into Spexer just as I think he slipped for the second goal.
I mean, that would almost be unfathomable, wouldn't it? Really.
I don't know where it changed, because was there a feeling that at the end of the season that suddenly he'd kind of switched on, and now that he was this good keeper and he'd had a bad game, we got over that spot? Or was it just that he wasn't Vicario? I couldn't quite work out.
I mean, he did have a storm of a game where people were like, this guy's kept us up now. Well, I'm not sure that was 100%.
He had some good games. He had a
highlighted
great save against Leeds.
The first game you had against Liverpool in the Carabao, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you feel confident about him going into next season?
It's hard to feel, because there's not a he obviously came in because of Vicario being injured. That's what I guess led him to come back in. He had no choice for those last 7 or so games, whatever it was, and he did do really well. I think it's hard to feel confident because it's such a short sample size, and how bad that one game in Madrid was. So somewhere in between. Like, I'm not worried about. I'm not saying like we need to really go out and get another keeper. But it's still like TBC. I'm not sure how it's necessarily going to go.
Let me ask you these last couple, and then we'll get your predictions. So, is Mickey van der Ven capable of becoming the defensive leader at Tottenham? He's got a bumper new contract. I don't know if Tottenham saw this stat that correlates wage bill with your place in the table, because they're dishing out contracts and money like you wouldn't believe. And you would expect him now, whether it's going to be a 2 at the back or a 3 at the back, to be the one that's carrying that team forward. And I just wonder if you've seen that in him, if you're expecting that of him moving forward.
Yeah, well, gotta hope so. I guess the news coming out seems to be that he's generally quite vocal. Ball accounts Romero didn't actually speak that much. I guess he doesn't speak much English, so that's probably why. But Van der Ven tends to be a bit more vocal. He's obviously would have been the most, I guess, experienced and tenured in the club there from a centre back perspective. So I think so. I think playing more positive football generally should obviously help his kind of style, because he's going to be doing more of that. Team's going to be playing in behind. He's going to be able to do the highlight real kind of tackles or close down that made him really good at the start. So I think that's positive. There's still question marks over his like in the box defending, and despite being really tall, he's actually not that good in the air as well. So I have to see if he improves on that. But I think he can be a leader if we find ourselves like being on the front foot against most teams, then I think he can.
So you mentioned James Maddison earlier. Just listening to him at the back end of last season and seeing his body language, particularly when he came on in that Leeds game, he looked like he really kind of felt a responsibility to keep you in the league. He did play less than 30 minutes across those 3 games, but you did stay up, and I wonder how you feel about him heading into this next season. Like, do you feel like you can count on him? Is he someone you'd be looking at as one of your main players? I don't know where he kind of sits at Tottenham right now.
I think he's potentially going to be captain. I think we're going to see in the next few days. I don't think it's still been necessarily announced, so that might give an indication of where De Zerbi thinks he sits. I think from like an actual person in the dressing room, he seems to have a good relationship with everyone. I think he's a good figure to have in there. And I think if the key question is just fitness, like if fit, I think you can rely on him, and I think he would be very good. He's the only, especially with obviously Xavi, who had a mixed first season, who's out of ACL until the new year anyway. So he's the only really, I guess, creative number 10, if you like, that we have, especially from a passing perspective. So gonna kind of have to, but I do worry. I think that even one game a week, which should help, but I think he's still going to be managed. Like he barely played any of pre-season. I wouldn't be surprised if he could start on the weekend, but he might be on the bench. So it's just if his fitness holds up, really. I'm hoping it will, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
All right, 2 more questions then. So it looks like, and I think you referenced this, it looks like you worked on the midfield, worked on the defence, and then like another club in North London have found that it's a lot harder to strengthen your attack than you would expect it to be. What can an attack of Richarlison, Tell, Solanke, Kudus, Kulishevsky and Odebear do in the Premier League next season?
Well, at least 3 of those are still out for a while. I don't know. Like Richarlison, just he can obviously he gets scrappy goals, right? He's still, I think, our top goal scorer last year. I know he didn't obviously score many.
He scored that one from the halfway line against us last season.
Yeah, but he seems to he's always falling over. I don't know how. For some reason, he's never. Every time he shoots, he's always like off balance and falling over. So that's like a worry. I think they're
seeing him and Robertson link up. By the way, I had to go for a bath. Honestly, I felt so disgusting seeing Robertson set him up.
That was odd. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's going to play. Robbo is going to play a lot more.
That's our Robbo.
You got.
He's not your Robbo.
Or a Liverpool fan try and say they're calling him Robbo like that wasn't made at Liverpool, and there's like a whole tweet from like his debut saying "Go on, Robbo."
No one's ever abbreviated a name before.
Well, yeah, to the point I mentioned earlier, like I definitely think it's like limited to some extent. I mean, again, Solanke played quite well in his first season under Ange, but then he's been injury prone ever since and never really got back. So it is a worry. I've said I think
he got one very important goal last season.
Exactly, yeah. I think Tell has looked really good, so I'm quite bullish on him. And you never know if more end up staying, we don't get anyone. Maybe he does really well, and that helps. But I could see that being a case of where they're putting on chances, and ultimately Richarlison Slanky aren't finishing them. So
But
there's
Kulusevski's
definitely
not
a
back
ceiling
then.
on it.
Yeah, is he ever going to like walk again?
I thought he was. I thought he
No,
was back.
he's like back training, yeah, but
John
he's not.
Wick.
He's not played any game. And then just remember, like, Ange said it was just a knock, and he'd be back
That's
in a
so
week.
good.
It's
So good.
To be fair,
so long.
Wenger used to do that with Thomas Rosicky. And you'd see him like 18 months later.
So yeah, no, he's not back. I'm guessing he's going to be back in like October, September time, maybe.
It's grim each time I see it, but I continually see the tweet that says Jota has played a game of football more recently than Kulusevski. But anyway, on that note, Sean, what is a good season for Tottenham?
I think a good season is.
A lot of money spent.
This is going to be a tricky one because I was going to say Europe, but I'd actually think a better season. Let's say Conference League is 8th. I'd prefer to finish 9th. I'd say that was a better season than finishing 8th, but then not a better season than finishing 7th. So 7th or 9th.
Do not finish 8th, lads. Whatever
Don't
you
finish
do.
8th, yeah. Don't get the Conference League. Unless we used it to just play youth all the time, then maybe there's a relevance for that. But if not, I think
There's only
anywhere,
one-
yeah, in the top half.
I think there's only one English team that's gone out in the group stage of the Conference League so far.
Yeah, but we were robbed out of it by a technicality.
Refusing to fly.
Only one team has quit the Conference League.
There's a global pandemic going on, Luke.
There was. Some teams were getting games called off. It was a disgrace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't forget that.
Let's get your predictions then. So let's have your top 6 in order, please.
I've gone Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Spurs, and then Liverpool.
You can't see TK's face, just it's a picture. Who's
Get
getting,
short shrift or shrift the whole pod, to be honest.
who's getting relegated?
I've gone Hull, Ipswich, Coventry. I was trying to think of someone. I was going to say potentially Newcastle at one point, but I feel like they've brought enough in now. So yeah, I'll stick with the 3 teams promoted.
Who's the top scorer after Haaland? If you think this person scores more than Haaland, then you can tell us that as well.
Yeah, and then I've gone João Pedro for Chelsea.
Popular pick. Biggest overperformer?
I've gone Brentford. It depends if you class it as an overperformance, but I reckon I know they've missed out on Europe the last few years being close, but I think this is the year they finally do it. So I'm going to say Brentford.
Biggest underachiever?
Liverpool.
First manager sacked?
Pierre Sarge.
Bold prediction?
I've missed that. I've just realised, look at my notes.
Last year's being Jed Spence would make the England squad.
Make the England squad.
Oh,
that
fucking
was
hell,
very
was it?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
superb.
Which is
We'll have to get
feel
into
pressure now.
come
to
up with
get-
another one and send in another one then, because that's
Get a
the
good
oracle.
one. I'll come back. I thought about.
Okay.
I mean,
next
Iraola being sacked. Is that bold? Or maybe not. I'll come back and get another one.
I consider it bold, but not many would.
And finally, a player outside the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season.
Matisse Tell.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I think
I'll
that
say
brings us-
Liverpool not to make Europe. Sorry, that'll be my bold prediction. Then I'll go for that.
But you've got them
I
finishing
know,
sixth.
I know I have, yeah, but you wanted to give me a bold prediction, so I'll go for that. Play both sides.
Okay.
The bold prediction is that his top 6 are going to be wrong. That's his bold prediction.
All right. Well, we'll get someone else in the hot seat. Thank you very much. Speak to you next time.
That's right. Cheers. Bye.
All right. The middle of this episode feels as good a time as any for us to do our predictions. Make sure they aren't buried at the end of all of this. So I can't quite remember how we did it last time. Should we go through each of our predictions in full? Do you want to go back to back?
Should we do our So, like, I do my top 6, you do yours, and
Sound.
then I do relegated, you do relegated. So just so it's segment by segment, as opposed to otherwise people are going, oh, what was his top 6 again? Whatever. Yeah.
All right. For the first time ever, I'm picking Arsenal to win the league.
There we go.
And I really don't feel good about it, to the point I may blame myself if we don't win the league this season.
I believe both times we've won the league, I've predicted we'll win it the following year, and obviously it didn't go so well. But there you go.
So I will go Arsenal, and I don't feel good about anything else after this. Man City second, Chelsea third, Man United fourth, Liverpool fifth, Villa sixth.
But if you thought you didn't feel good, you wait till you hear this. I've got Arsenal first.
Okay.
Got Chelsea second, City third, United fourth, Tottenham fifth. As currently constructed, Villa sixth. As currently constructed, I don't think Liverpool will make the top 6.
Jeez Louise.
I think we would be 7th.
Okay, well, we're going to talk a bit more about Liverpool. Relegated, I've gone pretty similar to everyone else. Hull, Coventry, Ipswich.
Promoted teams.
Not seen enough with any of them. I've not seen the kind of huge demonstration of ambition that we've seen with others. As I didn't really have any feeling about Coventry until I saw that clip of Tom Grennan seeming just wanting everyone to know that he knows Gus Harmer, and that's turned me off. Especially as I remember him doing Man United content as well. So it's
has it? Okay.
Yeah. So are you a Coventry fan or are you a United fan?
Shameless that.
Do you have anything different for your relegated 3?
I really flirted with putting Newcastle in here. I think they could be banging trouble. I will confess, not seen enough of, for example, Bamba and Torre, for example, to know if that's going to save them or what. I will go Hull, Ipswich, I think Fulham. I don't think there's anything about Arbeloa's CV or lack of that tells me that he can go in there. I don't think they've got a huge amount personnel wise. I think Marcus Silva probably plugged some of the gaps they got with his qualities as a manager.
Who's your top scorer after Erling Haaland?
I know this man's stock dropped during the World Cup. He got some uncomplimentary comparisons, but I do think Igor Thiago will run it back. I don't think he'll do a Michu. I think he'll do another season where you kind of think, is this guy any good? But he has an X amount of goals.
I saw a clip of him in one of the preseason friendlies looking like a freak. He's like megging people going down the touchline.
He's not doing that in the World Cup. I think Brentford obviously don't have European football. They'll have to concentrate on that. My other thought had been Watkins, but I think Villa do have European football. And we know Emery likes to move him around a little bit. And I think with the emergence of Maggio, you could see game time being shared a bit there. So I'll go with without Haaland market. I think Thiago does it again as the next man up.
Some talk of Saudi having a look at Ollie Watkins.
Interesting.
Doesn't strike me as a Saudi player.
I hope he doesn't.
I agree.
Yourself, who have you got?
Kai Havertz.
We've already got your bold predictions sorted as well, then, have we?
I've got about 9 bold predictions. Initially, I had Isak down. And then watched Havertz yesterday, and I saw him so far in pre-season, and I thought, the only reason I wouldn't have him top is his fitness. And I thought, not picking Havertz because I don't trust his fitness, and then picking Isak feels
point taken,
even stranger. So that's
we haven't sacked the whole medical department either.
No. Biggest overperformer, I've gone Brentford, and that's been a pretty popular pick, and it didn't feel like a very popular pick to me at the time of doing it. And my thinking would be,
what is overperformance?
So this is what I'm going to get to. So they finished 9th last season. I think if they finished 9th again next season, again, that would be considered as an overperformance. And I'm saying that because both Chelsea and Tottenham finished behind them. So at the very least, we're expecting those two to go up in and around the top 6.
Yeah.
And my reason for picking them, Sangare, I've heard all the talk around. I've not seen too much of him. I just think the biggest compliment I can ever play them is they're entirely comfortable in who and what they are.
Yeah.
And I think for the teams in and around them, I'm not sure they are. I think they're often trying to do something a little bit different. You don't know what Brighton are going to be there. Their manager's trying to reinvent himself this season. Sunderland, we'll speak a little bit about back end of last season would scare me a little bit if I was within their fan base.
Yes.
And I just think they're a pretty sure thing, which is strange because this time last season, Keith Andrews, I think, was the most popular manager to be sacked in our pre-season podcast.
Oh, he did a great job, didn't he? Because, they've lost players. He's come into his first full-time management gig and, they didn't miss a beat. So
one of my bold predictions last season was that he was going to be sacked and then take a job as a set-piece coach elsewhere within the same season. Who's your biggest overperformer?
I think Forest. I think they'll be right in the hunt for European football this time. I think Glasgow are getting back to kind of what they know, being harder to beat, playing on the break. That's kind of what got them. That's what got them to the dance. And I know he may change in terms of formation or whatever from that, but it'd be, I think, those similar things make Forest a hard place to go to. And I think they'll be knocking on the door for Europe.
Okay. Who's your biggest underachiever?
I think by nature of what I just said, Liverpool would be. Fulham would be thrown in there as well if they were to go down.
I've got Man City at the top of my list, and they finished second in my table. My big thing, I do believe, as several journalists have said before, considering what they spend and how they act, any season in which they don't win the league, I believe them to be underachieving. Yeah. We're looking at over 300 million being spent on just their midfield this summer, with Buadi coming in. Looks like Enzo is going to be the one that's going to come in as and when the Rodri deal goes through. And I just think some perspective on how bad Spurs were last season has been lost or forgotten. And I do think they're going to have some real highs this season, but I just don't think they can possibly live up to the billing that some people are giving them. Yeah.
So you think they can underachieve?
Yeah.
The problem with them is I don't think people know what the expectation should be. So it's hard to underachieve.
They seem to be in the majority of people's top sixes.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be up there.
No.
I think they may start really well. I think they're going to have patches, but
I think this year he'll get them rolling. I think no other competitions to think about. I think he'll get them, get a style of play from them. I think he'll get a good atmosphere around the place. And I do think the Derby roller coaster, I think we will have the up and up this year. And I think him feeling slightly emboldened going into next summer might be where we see the beginning of what we know will happen there ultimately.
I think we may have a similar thought process for the first manager sacked. Who do you have down?
First manager sacked, I've got the whole manager.
Okay.
Jakirovic. I don't know if people are aware of the whole chairman, but he's a character.
Okay.
And he won't need an excuse to, I don't think. And it will lead into my bold prediction as well, this. So
I was looking forward to that playoff final, went out for a few drinks with you before in the sun and woke up as they scored the winner. So I don't know too much about them. I'm going with Arbeloa. I think he's been borderline disrespectful with how he's come into the league. I don't think the signings he's made and the way he's moving strikes me as a manager that has any idea of what he's in for this season.
Has he said something that's been...
Just the signing, I don't believe as a manager adapting to the league, you go in and get Gonzalo Garcia as your number 9, someone that you don't know if he can play a whole season yet, let alone in a league this physical. He isn't a proper big brute penalty box striker. He's 6 foot. He wants to get in and around the ball. And I do think when it goes well, it might look fancy with him and Smith Rowe and Kevin and
Oscar Bob.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think a lot of people over the years have tried to change Fulham, and Fulham are what they are. They're going to have a couple of players in there that are nice, but ultimately they probably need their Raul Jimenez, or they need someone. They lost Harry Wilson as well.
I was going to say
that's some goals gone out the door.
A big part of last season was him just scoring week in, week out, and they don't have that now.
And Fulham strike me as a team that at this point in time probably feel like they're entirely committed to their manager. As soon as that gets tough, I'm not sure they're as committed as they think they are.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. I I'm not convinced by the appointment. Even when you get a caretaker job at Madrid, I do think there's got to be a bit of a spike and an upturn in results. I don't think you've really even got that. It wasn't awful, but it didn't do enough that it would jump out to you.
Do you want me to give you all of my bold predictions? De Zerbi's gone by February.
Nice.
I'm so confident on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And he's going to walk.
It's a big lot of money to walk away from.
He won't let himself get sacked. I don't think he cares about the money. I think he thinks he's saving face. And you're
Interesting.
Bruno to record less than half of the assists he got last season, which would be 10 or under.
Okay.
Caicedo doesn't receive a single red card.
That is bold.
Vert scores 5 in his first 5 under Iraola.
It's all dirty to me.
Newcastle, Forest, Ipswich, Fulham, Bournemouth as the first 5.
Yeah.
Jason Tyndall takes a job before Eddie Howe. And Emil Smith-Rowe gets back in the England setup.
They're the best till last. Get that. Do you think Carrick sees out the season?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Unless someone pops up. So unless the example we always use is Klopp becomes available under Brendan.
Yeah.
Which I don't see happening. So unless that happens, then I think they'll stick with him regardless.
Yeah.
I also think, and I don't mind if I jinx them, I think there's a couple of other teams that could be worse, so that however bad United could be, it might not be bad enough that they fall out of contention for things.
Yeah, fair.
What are your bold predictions?
It would have been, like I said, I flirted with Newcastle go down. I do think they're in danger. As much as I think their ownership is a little bit checked out, I don't think they're checked out enough that they would allow their team to go down. If it was looking hairy in January, I think they'd make a move. So I think my bold prediction is that Hull break Derby's lowest points record. I think they're really going to struggle. I saw a bit of the overlap fan debate, and they had a fan on there, and he spoke well, and he said, well, there is one sort of thing that we are suited to, the fact that we will sit in, let you have the ball, and try and shit us away to a win. So kind of we did it to get promoted in the Championship, so we're definitely going to do it in the Prem. Whereas a lot of teams obviously play football in the Championship, have all this possession, and they come and think they can do the same, and they can't. And I was thinking, like, fair play to you, mate. You've nearly convinced me, but it's not. Like their underlying metrics last year were like something like close to relegation than going up in the Championship. I know they've spent a fair bit of money for a promoted team, but it's small amounts on individual players, and I just don't think there's going to be enough of an uplifting quality for them. And so if you're looking for a bold prediction, I do think they could beat Derby's record of 11 points.
On Newcastle's manager, I just know he's going to be a bastard. It's not even a debate for me. Last one then. I feel like I kind of answered mine already with the player outside the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season. Havertz, I do think, is going to have a big season. Equally, I would say Calafiori, who I was going to say last season, but said he's probably not going to be on the pitch enough. So I would say Ben White, I believe I said instead. So that'll be mine.
That implies you think Calafiori will be on the pitch a lot this year, if any injuries are gone.
It's more the other players outside of that. It didn't feel like an outside of the obvious to say Gabriel or Saka or anyone else.
Yeah, fair.
I don't mean to ditch you. I do have our predictions from last season just over there. So if you want to give your player outside the obvious, I'll listen and come back with these other predictions.
Okay. You might have to be sharpish because otherwise it's just me talking to someone. I would say outside of the obvious, don't always sort of base your answers on some of this on pre-season. Sometimes young players play more than you think. However, I do think in our case, it doesn't seem like we're going to get another midfielder in. And in which case, I think Trey Onyonya is going to get more game time than people think. And I think it's going to have to be a big season for him in that case. I think he could be kind of the breakout sort of act. And I guess if you say outside of the obvious, if he's going to at some point become the player people thought we were signing, then Kirkes can't have asked for any more than getting Iraola as his manager, so maybe he could as well.
Okay, let me just give you these then. A lot of them are not too bad. Your top 6 in order last season was Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, Spurs, Sunderland, Brentford and Wolves all going down.
Terrible.
Brighton to overperform, Villa to underperform. Your bold prediction was Newcastle are terrible but have a deep Champions League run.
Like I said, they get to like semis or something.
Yeah. And a player outside the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season. You said Curtis Jones, and he'll also be a prominent member of the England squad.
Damn.
I went Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Newcastle, Spurs, Burnley, Leeds and Brentford going down. I said Cole Palmer was going to be top scorer. Actually, we both did without Haaland, so I said Cole Palmer. You had Gyökeres as the second top scorer in the league. Overperformer, I had Bournemouth, so
nice.
I'll take that. And Tottenham. Biggest underachiever, Villa. First manager sacked, Daniel Farke. And yeah, Ben White was the player I predicted to have a big season. So yeah, didn't do disgracefully, but didn't do great.
Others did worse.
Yeah.
I did call Arsenal to win the league, so there we go.
There you go. All right, let's get someone else in the hot seat. Rory joining us now. And Rory, I think a good place to start would be to look back at your predictions perhaps from last season. One quote in particular stood out.
Yep.
I can't see any version of events where there can be any questions about Slot this season.
People surprise you.
Yeah, you also tipped Kirkes to have a good season, so people really can surprise you.
Well, if we do listen to the full thing there, I actually said Kirkes and Rio. Well, I'd say Rio had a suitably decent season, so you can clickbait these sound bites however you like. Kirkes, late bloomer, maybe.
Maybe. I don't think it was an outlandish one at the time. Funny to look back on. I had a whole thing talking about how Liverpool do the obvious transfer and that works each time.
I mean, he forced Robertson out the door. We give him that credit.
Yeah,
maybe
we had Sean calling him Robbo earlier, which I saw TK squirming.
Really hurt.
As he did. I've just realised now Rory's here. I've not actually kind of greeted any person that's sat down in the chair today. It's just been straight down to business. Hence is the time we've got. So hopefully you're doing well.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess if I look to both of you, the way I see your squad being spoken about now, it's almost like Slot never stood a chance last season. So does Iraola have a shoddy squad to work with, or does he have a Premier League winning squad with about 600 million of assets placed on top of it?
Well, he seems to have a squad that is vastly different to the team that won the league, that also apparently can't run for more than 45 minutes. So I don't quite know what Slot did between the years of winning the league, or perhaps even about February of that season and the end of last year. But I do have some fears about the squad depth, as I'm sure probably every Liverpool fan does have. And I'm just staggered by how slowly we've moved this summer. We've affected a release clause and got one loan signing.
Do we think that one Iraola quote, he felt he was just talking about the general state of pre-season in general, that we're at this stage of pre-season, people can't run for more than 30 minutes at a time? Or was it a wider comment about the lack of fitness within this Liverpool team? Because that's about as damning an indictment as you can have about a Liverpool side, particularly given, even going back to Brendan, the type of football that was being played.
Yeah, I think the actual quote from him was specifically about that game and in this stage of pre-season. But I think it's been extrapolated up because also you saw the numbers from last year that we got outrun by a Chelsea side that hadn't been outrun all season. You know, we were near the bottom on all metrics that we were previously top on by a mile. So, you know, it didn't take a genius to work out that something was going wrong, mainly on the training pitch, it would appear. And whatever else will happen with Iraola, you would assume he will probably look to address that. The other part of it as well, that is the playbook of all new managers. They all say the team isn't fit enough. For whatever reason, they always do it. Every single time it's, need to sort of
watch Coach Carter.
Yeah. And And he has done a few things I do think already that are, in terms of what he's saying, it's kind of playing for time a little bit already. He's already said, look, I know there's work to do and things like that. Those little throwaway comments that managers tend to do, try and leave it either pressure on themselves or the team or whatever. He's already come out of a few of those.
So, in general, have we, and by we I mean both of you, just written off all of last season's signings? Like, is there any confidence in Frimpong and Kirkes and Mamadashvili? And
Well, I guess if we were to perhaps rank them all, we would be here a little while. But I'm firmly of the belief that Ekitike will be a good signing once he's back and fit. I think we saw enough from him last season to suggest that. Isak was starting to maybe click slightly before the injury. I was quite glad to see Sweden at least get some games in the World Cup for him, so he's in a far better position than he was last year.
He looked sharp in pre-season.
Yeah, and I think he's seen enough in pre-season to know that he is the clinical finisher that we saw at Newcastle. Wirtz, I do still stand by. I do think he will come good. I do strongly believe that. Kirkes, I think he'll be okay. Frimpong, get rid. He's terrible. He's not a defender. And Mamadashvili, I am terrified if he's ever our number one.
we
shock him.
We did the podcast with Keenan last Christmas, and I believe Liverpool were playing Forest that day, and Mamadashvili had a particularly bad game, and Keenan was being very forthright in just how much he disliked Mamadashvili. And then I think he went away and went somewhere else, and I saw someone write in the group chat, Keenan's here, and all he's doing is slagging off Mamadashvili. He's not that bad. And then, to be honest, the more you watched him, there's that stat of his shots faced to goals conceded, which is nasty. I guess he wasn't signed to be a number two, but no team in the league really has a good number two consistently. The idea is that if you have a good number two, they go and become a number one pretty quickly.
But yeah, I think Rory's kind of touched on that. I think the concern is that the idea was he was being brought in to one day be the number one.
Yeah.
And I don't think that points to a bright future if that's for us, if that happens. Because yeah, I think he's just an okay keeper, and that's not good enough for where we kind of want to get to. I think he's probably a little bit better than he's shown at times, but Kelleher was too good to be a number two, but probably not. Who knows? Maybe he can become good enough to be a number one at a top club, but I don't think it was obvious. He wasn't going to be better than Alisson, so he had to go somewhere else. And I think so with him, you never had that. Well, one day he'll be on number one, whereas Mamadashvili is a different mindset with. And because Alisson obviously misses more and more each season, you kind of go, we're going to have to survive without him, and this is going to be our guy. I think probably next summer, goalkeeper's position we're going to have to look at.
Do you think there's the same Liverpool regime that was ruthless enough that we're not going to tie down Luis Diaz, so we're going to sell him this summer? If you maybe had a better suited number two, you'd take the cash for Alisson this summer, wouldn't you? You'd get his wages off the books. And I imagine that was the idea, that at the last possible moment, you get the money in and he's there to fill the shoes. You have to accept, as you say, that he's going to miss some games this season. But for the money that we're speaking about to sell him, looking at Juventus wouldn't pay 10 million euros for Emi Martinez.
It's crazy.
To the point that the deal has fallen apart, and they'd rather get Vicario on loan with an option. So what they were going to do for Alisson, I don't know where those discussions were around. I have to imagine the feeling in today's game for fitness alone is that they'd have been paying less than they would be prepared to for Emi Martinez. So yeah, what we looked at, 5, 6, 7 million.
Yeah,
you may as well say to him,
go for free next year, or if they can't tie him down.
We've lost experienced players over the last few years as well. You don't need another one going out the door for very little reward, really.
So you do look thin on the ground, but does this season ultimately live or die by the fitness of Alexander Isak?
It'd be pretty huge, won't it? It'd be pretty huge. I'm not optimistic about that. I don't think there's any evidence that guy can stay fit. I think he'll be better than he was, but and the problem is we don't seem to be looking to rectify that. He isn't going to be able to do Premier League, Europe, Premier League consistently. He isn't going to do full 90 for most of those games. And who do we have that's going to come in and sort of dovetail with that at this point? Ekitike's out till the new year. That's not so. Something I brought up on previous pods, but that amidst all our problems that's been spoken about, that hasn't been addressed at all.
It's also quite alarming that the person at the moment that is most, say, likely to fill in that spot is probably Gakpo, right?
Yeah.
He's a bit more of a utility player, and the feeling seems to be once the dominoes start falling, Barcola's going to come in and Gakpo's going to be out.
Yeah,
and you go,
Gakpo is, at this point in time, is probably our most guaranteed starter from the attack in our first game, and yet could also be out the door.
I don't see what he gets out of a move to Spurs unless they're paying him crazy wages, which we've touched on. They do seem to be chucking that cash about. I can't see any, because usually you'd think it's a drop to Spurs at this point. And so we'd say you're dropping to Spurs. Okay, you're not in the Liverpool team at this point, but you're going to be in the Liverpool team. And I do think even if Barcola comes in and you're looking around, that fourth attacking spot, when you are playing as many games as you are both in the league and in Europe, you're going to play so many games that you're going to be able to force your way in. And he's not.
He was only really brought in as the fourth option, wasn't he? He wasn't like a guaranteed starter.
Once you've had a taste of
really,
being first choice, then you obviously don't want to leave it. But what's he running from the competition with Ngamoa at this point?
But you also think kind of the rumour mill is Mbai and Barcola, right? So theoretically, he'd be competing with Barcola, who can probably play either side, but plays predominantly from the left. But you're going, well, Gakpo could play right, could play central, so he's effectively competing with people with a combined age of 34, like Rio and Mbai, right? If they both come in, it's crazy.
It's strange to me the talk that seems to be coming out that if you don't make any other signings, that Rio is going to start playing predominantly off the right. That seems, if you've been telling us, and the noise is that you've got a generational talent on the left-hand side.
Well, he's played him on there a lot in pre-season as well. With mixed success, I have to say. He has Iraiola's laboured the point that he wants his wingers to be able to play on both sides. I thought that was a message to the current wingers and to whoever may be coming in, I thought. But having said that, Gakpo isn't playing on both wings. He's cutting in off the left, or he's playing centrally, isn't he? He's not going to put him on the right, I don't think. No. So, it is interesting on that front.
So, I don't want to talk too much about the specific targets. Can I ask you now if you want to come back on in 2 weeks for deadline day? Then you're welcome to do that. But
stuck it on him.
Is there a single area of the pitch that you look at with great concern, whether it's the goalkeepers, whether it's the defence, whether it's anything? Because the collective feeling of Liverpool fans seems to be, oh God, the whole thing is a mess. And I do have to go back and say, the feeling was you needed a bit more when we spoke ahead of last season, but there was also a great sense of optimism that we've got so much talent in this squad that I think the conversation was we had depth and you had the talent. And so a year later to be like, oh my God, the whole squad is so bad.
No, but things can change awfully quickly.
For sure.
But you've only got to look at Salah, right? Look at like how much we would have been hanging on him to be our poster boy again last year, right? And then this year, I don't think there's any Liverpool fan that still wanted him around. Do you know what I mean?
Is it as doom and gloom as...
I think it's very difficult to tell them because we haven't seen enough competitive games with the new system from Iraola. Now, if Liverpool fans are quietly confident that the players on the wing will be brought in, then I'd say my next biggest fear is the right-back slot. And now I know that's a weird position to maybe be most concerned about. It's not the most influential position, but I think to go from how we viewed Trent 2 years ago to now how we're viewing Frimpong, Conor Bradley seems like he can't stay fit. We've brought in Ronald, who I just know once he's had a stinker, the name suits itself, you know. I worry about the right back slot. I don't think we've actually got a right back that is really worthy of starting for a team that's competing for top four, let alone the league.
I think if you hadn't tried rolling back on the pitch,
bastard.
If that club hadn't crocked him, we could have had a generational right back.
Isak plays, say, 30 games. Joe Gomez plays 30 games.
He's got no chance playing 30.
Yeah.
Things all of a sudden they're looking a bit rosy. I don't know. Maybe your luck will change this season. I don't know why I felt like a wind up in the last 5 minutes.
Well,
because it'll come back.
His face changed.
It'll come back to haunt me, I'm sure.
He hasn't yet considered that Saka is not playing double digits this season.
Double digits. Yeah.
He's cooked.
Did you watch him yesterday?
Cooked.
That burst. I've not seen that burst from him since he was 17.
That's him done.
I did also,
That was Michael Owen's last hamstring.
I did also worry about that after, but don't be nasty about a player for our country. So is there a single area of the pitch, or is it the whole thing?
For me, I would say for a while now, we haven't really addressed the midfield. I think we've had defensive issues, but so many of it has been they've been left exposed by too many times the midfield is wide open or not athletic or physical enough. So getting someone in there who wants to, their first thought is defensive, I think is key. It doesn't look like we're going to address that. Yeah, we're being linked with obviously two wingers. I think that kind of has to be on the basis that if Gakpo does end up leaving to finance one of those, then you're not adding anything, you're just replacing him. And we haven't really addressed, Salah fell off last year, but we've also not replaced a fallen off Salah. So, that's a huge amount of how we were feeling going into last season was Salah would at least, if not maintain the level, be close to the level from the season before. The fact that he dropped and now he's no longer here, big reason for the lack of optimism. Ekitike obviously was coming in. Now he is no longer available till New Year. So that's another thing. We've seen the problems with Isaac in terms of fitness. That's hard to get out of your head until you see him have a sustained period of time of fully fit. So, and then we've seen defensively, going into last year, you'd have thought, look, I know Konate's got some issues, but he's normally a good partner for Van Dijk. Nosedived. And so now in his replace, we've got a lone player from Barcelona who I'm not as low on as some people are, but some people are low on him.
Look at the state of this man.
I have no feeling on him. I've just seen the Barcelona fans' posts, which is usually...
Yeah. Jacket and Leone coming in, who are young players anyway, but also coming off big injuries. And then Kirkes and Frimpong, who it's fair to say didn't have brilliant debut seasons. Now, I think I said to you, if Kirkes can't do it under Iraola, then he already is cooked. Yeah. And Frimpong looked good against Como in the friendly yesterday, but it's a friendly against Como, so that's we've seen a lot more bad than good there. But again, if Iraola can't, he likes his fullbacks bombing on. If Frimpong can't do it there, then he's not going to be able to do it.
Do you know what's really going to frustrate me is when Isak and Leone play a few games and some dickhead commentator is going to say, yeah, they're just like having new signings through the door. And I'm just
that's I think
already a lot of the messaging at this time, because I know they are the messengers, but when the journalists get to say 2 weeks out and they say, you've got to be realistic, there's no way the club can get all of this done inside 2 weeks. And you think, well, they haven't only had 2 weeks.
Yeah, entire summer. Yeah, exactly.
Like there was somebody today saying, it doesn't matter if Curtis Jones leaves, they're just not going to sign a midfielder. And you go like...
Yeah.
The other thing that's really frustrating me this summer is the inability to move players on that have no future at the club.
That's not just a Liverpool thing, though. We've still got Fabio Vieira and Reece Nelson and Gabriel Jesus. It's the Premier League now is its own bubble, and they all pay so much to keep these players.
Yeah.
We had Reece Nelson on £100.
I know, but the fact you're willing to terminate Salah's contract, you're willing to let Konate go on free, you're willing to let Trent go on a free. There's got to be some. But you know what I mean. Like there's no foresight with these clubs to do the right business right, and then go. Endo should not be on a 4 or 5 year contract. He should be on a 2 or 3 year contract.
Several of these players, you give them the money on the basis that you don't let them go free, and we're definitely going to sell them. Arsenal didn't think Reece Nelson was going to see 5 years of his deal. They thought, we'll renew it now. And sometimes it works and we get 30 million for Eddie Nketiah. Sometimes it doesn't work and we have to eat Reece Nelson's deal because he won't leave because you're on that money there. The Curtis Jones one, Liverpool will have felt pretty safe in. He either comes good for us or another Premier League team is going to buy it. And there's only so many times you can get the Carvalho ones and whatever other
maybe
ones
we've just become accustomed to that great business of getting rid of these players like Jordan Ibe and players that are never going to play for us. Really.
I think teams are expanding more where they're trying to do better business. I think there's just more players now, so there's more options to it. And
we know Italian clubs don't want to spend the money, so Inter supposedly in for Jones, they could be doing all sorts of stupid offers that we don't. We go, look, we're not going to sell him for that, and they go, do you want 15 million plus, I don't know, like a tour around Milan or something. Like, no, I'm okay, thanks. We were just quite like 40 million or 35 or whatever.
But it's like, look at the amount they spent on Spence. It's like, what was it, like 28
So you
million?
imagine
or so?
Spurs had to
Crazy.
weigh up, do we want to wait a bit longer and potentially get some more money from Liverpool or someone else, or do we want the money in the bank and we'll move on and we know we need a right back now and we don't have to play against him next season?
Yes. Yeah.
And they took that offer. You could have taken, so it says they're willing, you want about 40 million for Curtis Jones. They want to pay probably, I think they offered 20, they're willing to pay up to about 30. And at a certain point, you kind of realise the market isn't there. So, Curtis Jones, he's got more than 1 year left, hasn't he?
I think so.
So you can wait and try again next season, or you get the money now. I think what you're going to see more and more clubs doing, and Tottenham have just done it, Real Madrid do it all the time, is you take the lesser fee and you bank on getting the cut of the next sale, and you put in that, okay, we'll sell him you 15 million, but we want 40% of the next time he moves on, and that's where you make your money on the back end, and they either do well or they don't, but that's better than taking the 20 and that's the end of your time with them.
I mean, I've had my own view on Jones. I don't really think he's got any better in the last 5 years.
They just become better, don't they, when there's no one else in there?
No, I know.
And also, the spot we're in at the minute, the problem is that we're obviously having conversations about lacking depth. And the only real link in the midfield is that midfielders are going, like him, Elliott, or whatever. It is bodies, at least, that you look at our bench most of last season, you're like, fucking hell, that's a bad bench. Then it's going to be worse at this point in time because we haven't done the work, as you've touched on there. Prior to this summer, we should have been getting more people in front of the door.
We got those hilarious rumours that like we'll have to sell a non-homegrown player before we can register somebody.
I think
what is the shit on the books that are taking up these spaces?
One in, one out with non-homegrown players now.
We had Martinelli, Nwaneri, Vieira, Nelson, Jesus, all not in the squad.
Those all make the bench comfortably for us.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all players that would
build the depth up.
Play for Premier League clubs.
We took different approaches last summer and on a different season. By the way, he plays all 38 games and Isak plays 38 and things could be slightly different. I don't know. Carragher was raising concerns about the makeup of your midfield. He says he's pretty confident going in. It's going to be Wirtz, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai on account of the money spent on Wirtz. Szoboszlai's just got the new deal and Gravenberch is one of the only players that can play a 6 and run.
Great.
Would you share those concerns? I think he said 10 weeks into the season, that's not going to be Liverpool's midfield.
Yeah,
Wirtz is going to have to be left or not playing.
Yeah, Wirtz is a big concern for me. I've kind of voiced it on the pod before. Against Como yesterday, there was some really good signs from a lot of players. He was not one of them.
The game before, though, I saw a small amount of tape, but he was almost trying to play like a 4-4-2 in possession, wasn't he? With him playing off Isak.
Yeah, and he has had link up with Isaac that is promising. But again, if I think that Isaac's fitness is going to be questionable, that's another thing that I don't know how much you can bank on. This will be the partnership, and also even if it is having him in the 10, but then the midfield not as balanced, then going to offset that anyway. If you've got Gravenberch and Szoboszlai in there, kind of on their own, is the makeup of that midfield strong enough to account for having those two up top? I'm not so sure. I obviously hope I'm wrong, but I just question it with us. Even I thought he might have a good World Cup and look good with Germany. Obviously, none of them look great in Germany, but it's just the way he moves and stuff. It's just not what I would expect from this kind of silky number 10 player. It looks like it's not quite happening for him each game I see him, and he'll do one thing that, okay, here we go, but then that's kind of it. You don't get a lot more out of him, and look, we'll see how he starts. But I do wonder about that, and I think that's a big part of it. Is like if we're gonna play him, which you assume we will because of the money spent. We are gonna live and die on whether he can come good or not.
Let me ask a few more questions then before we get Rory's predictions. So, aside from what you've told me already, have you seen anything or learnt anything during pre-season about what we should expect from an Iraola side next season, or perhaps look out for with how he wants to play? Something that he's going to try and build in with the team?
Yeah, they're always difficult to say as these pre-season friends, especially when you think there might be more bodies to add. But the midfield setup does definitely look markedly different. And like TK's mentioned previously, I think the fullbacks being a lot higher up than probably they were with Slot, but Yeah, I think it sounds a very odd thing to say about a team, like you say, that this time last year we're going in as Premier League champions, but we feel like we're in a massive transitional period. And like what we
Pressing me, I'll be honest.
Yeah. No,
but it's true, isn't it? Like I do think, as a Liverpool fan, I feel like come next summer we might have 5 different starters to what we've got now, and we might be admitting defeat on some of the signings we've made in the last 18 months.
You got turnover at the backroom staff as well.
Yeah. I think we kind of touched on a couple of things with the wingers. I think he's going to see that through. I think that Rio has played on the right at times. I think he's going to mix it up. Same with Victor Munoz. I think I'll do the same with him. I think you will see more of Trey Nyoni if we don't get someone in. I think he does like him. I don't think it's just been a pre-season one. I think he's going to see more of him. Jeremy Jackett might be the best Premier League defender ever. Based on 45 minutes in a pre-season front against Como, I'm going to go with it.
So
with bearing in mind, Leone's had a good 45 minutes against Southampton. That means we've got the best young pairing ever.
To be fair, like,
going to go with it.
Leone did look pretty decent. The little fleeting moments he played last pre-season and into the start of this, was it maybe like 5 games at the start of the season? And he had like a few minutes against Southampton. And you're like, this boy looks like he can play. And then he's crocked.
I received a message from an unnamed source that has been on this podcast and may or may not support Manchester United last night. And attached was a compilation of all of Jeremy Jackett's actions against Como and the message that said, this could be an issue.
We got what they thought they were getting with Yoro.
I'm wondering, does him, Araujo, Munoz, any of them filling you with any optimism?
So I said I'm not as low on the Araujo one because other than the wages aren't particularly nice because he's a high earner. However, I think we needed cover at centre back. I don't think we were going to go big there on a transfer, so I think it makes a level of sense. He can cover right back. I don't want to say too much.
Did you see that Luis Enrique clip from the changing room?
Yeah. But also, I remember watching him a couple of years ago at Barcelona. I think he was a beast of a defender. So if you can rediscover some of that, a lot of it is confidence with him, it seems, from listening to people talk about him.
He went on a mental health retreat in the middle of last season to Israel.
Well, there you go.
Israel as well, we're told, which is
that's an interesting choice.
Issue, yeah.
Concentration and confidence seem to be kind of key with him. If you can get that out of him, I think that's, as a loan signing, is
he's
fine.
He's got the perfect pairing with him, right? Like Van Dijk tends to elevate the pair he plays with.
Yeah, if he can coach him through a game a little bit.
He's going to be 36 at the end of next season.
That's fine, he's 35 till then. So, if
he's
he can kind of...
I thought physically last season...
There were signs, but again, if we
encouraging signs.
Not encouraging signs.
Such a bastard.
I think Jackett might be better and more prepared for the Prem than maybe anyone thought. I think he's still going to have ups and downs because he's a young player and it's hard to come into that position as a young player. It's not like playing on the wing or something where you can have more of an impact. So I think if you can get enough of a run out of one of them, I don't mind that at this point at centre half. Obviously, for example, we're going to need Kirkes to step up because it's not even like last year where you can go, well, Robbo can fill in. We have Shimaka's there as a backup now, who we'd already decided wasn't good enough.
That's exactly another player that you just can't believe he's still
So again,
in the
how's he still there? The level has gone down in that position as well. So
he is disgusting.
No. And go on.
I'm just remembering when Simicats got boshed into Klopp. I was out with it. I was getting stick for it, like I nudged him over.
And so I think Arao is good for that, and I do think Victor Munoz as a cover signing and as an impact sub potentially, I actually like for the money as well. I actually think that's okay. He's rapid, looks a bit clunky at times, but he looks kind of fine for that role. It's if he ends up being your starter, I think you go, hang on a minute, this wasn't supposed to be the plan.
He can be great for stretching the game.
So we've done some of the things I would want. I just think going into one of my biggest concerns with a midfield, which doesn't seem to be on the agenda for the club, more cover defensively in the fullback roles, which hasn't really been addressed, and cover for Isaac up front. I think if you can keep that starting 11 fit, if you're going to bring in a winger or two alongside this, then I think starting 11 wise, we're good to go. I think it's good. But there's just doubts over the goalkeeper, 2/3 of the defence, 2/3 of the attack at this stage. So That's quite a lot of doubts.
How much is the midfield?
But I think the midfielders stay fit. I just don't know if it's so necessarily good enough.
When does that Jeff Bezos money get turned on? That's what we need to know.
I feel like any positivity I try and give you is going to seem disingenuous. So.
You think?
I think you may have made that made a rough run about
I-
that. Go on, say something positive.
The squad isn't good.
It's a bad start.
I don't
Do you
think.
want the good news
I
or
don't
the bad
think.
news?
I don't think the starting 11 is bad. I think when I see.
That's what I said. I think the start 11.
So in general, I think you can get by.
Yes, great.
It's going to
What
take.
is getting by as well?
But I think so. Iraola was widely recognised as one of probably the top 2 managers in the league last season based on what he delivered. Hasn't lost that. It's whether Liverpool players are going to be on board with that.
I'm excited about him going as manager.
Yeah,
I
sure.
like what he can bring. The problem is my real concerns with Liverpool is this. I don't think this squad could withstand a Premier League season with European football. So I don't think it's built to withstand that.
Does it have to, or
With
does it go till January? And Liverpool have invested in January previously. No, that's not.
We've
I'm
also
not doing great at the positivity thing, but
we've also not invested in January at key times as well. I would point out. But the point I was going to make was that I'm excited about him coming in, but the things that he's bringing actually lead to more injury concerns. If you look at how often he had loads of people out for Bournemouth, bear in mind they didn't have European football. That happened frequently. Probably going to be his training methods or whatever. So, and he is only going to lean into that more because 1, that's what he is, so he has to. But 2, it's a rare case where you're being brought in with no, we really want your style because we didn't like what Slot was doing style-wise last year. The fans were kicking on saying we want heavy metal football and all that. So he's only going to lean into that more, which probably leads to more intense training, which leads to probably more injury risk. So kind of the thing you want from Iraola could also be the thing that kind of damages the team in a way.
I think there's going to be a situation where both you and PSG think you've got one over on the other. I think you're going to feel that you've got one over on them because they've dropped the price to say 100 million, and PSG are going to think
They've just given us 100 million.
We got about 9 wingers. We would never get 140.
Yes, I think that's probably.
So I think that one's going to go down to the line. I think we're going to probably get 2 players in. I think you're going to get 2 players in. I think United will probably get 2 in. I think that's probably what you can realistically do if you're not just casting a net out and just bring in what you can. So I think you'll get a winger, and I think you'll probably get a defender. That'll probably be the way that you're going to go around and do
What I
it.
would say is, like, if you say about how bad the squad is, I was looking at United starting 11, or likely starting 11, maybe in the guise of playing FPL, but I was thinking, it's not that inspiring. Like Maguire, Heaven, Ahmad, Dorgu. It's hardly striking fear into me, do you know what I mean? So, and they're a team that theoretically people are saying they might be outside challengers for the league.
Where do you think TK had Liverpool in his predictions?
Same as me, 4th. How low, TK? Oh, Jesus.
I'm thinking now, I'm assuming you're going to drop predictions in before this part now. Oh, okay.
Was it an odd or an even number?
It was an odd number.
So 7th. Jesus.
As currently constructed, that is where we would end up. You can sway me with a couple of signings between now and deadline day. Stick around, listeners, to the deadline day pod. But as it stands,
are you swaying? 6-9 points, which might get us up to 5th.
I think if we get a couple of attackers in, that can elevate us. I think Arsenal will be comfortable league winners here. I think whoever comes second will do an Ollie or Jose type second. Okay. You were second, but you were a mile off. And so I'd say, as it stands, I think it's City and Chelsea competing for that slot.
Yeah.
If we were to get a couple of signings right, I think we would go from outside the top 6 to in that mix. I don't think we could challenge Arsenal. I don't think the squad is capable. But I think if we would get enough games out of starting 11, we would be the next best team, I think. But can you get those signings over the line at this point?
The big thing is we do have quite a comfortable start, or hopefully. Like, the games on paper look okay. That is massive.
Verts scoring 5 in his first 5 games. There's a bold prediction for you. Let me ask you one last question, then I'll take the predictions. We've gone a bit over already here. Based on what you saw last season and what you expect this season, does Szoboszlai have the capability, now that he's got his big contract, to take a step forward next season, or is the best you can hope for him maintaining what he did last season?
I think he's make a step forward because I think you can get numbers wise, you can get better. If you can strike a ball like him, I should probably see more goals from you. If you can pass a ball like him, I should probably see, even if he maybe isn't going to be always the assist, he might be the pre-assist, whatever you want. I can see more of that, as well as you being the engine, being everywhere on the pitch. I think I've been almost critical of him on the pod because I think he kind of can do these things. And so I think you can get another level out of him. Now, will it be in this midfield? That might be difficult because if we don't have someone holding it down in a 6 position, does he have more responsibility and find himself back defensively? He would probably, if given the option, have 2 midfielders behind and he would be the 10, albeit a different one to Wirtz. But if Wirtz is there, he can't do that. So those things might limit him, but I think he still can go to another level.
The United game stood out to me where he seemed to say, fine, I'll do it myself. And I think you might see a bit more of that.
I think the fact that he's signed a contract and he does seem to be taking more of a leadership role in terms of how he carries himself, I do think is a factor as well.
He's also not got to play these games at right back, which would have...
You say that now?
Well, unlikely, right? But that would have... In theory, I know he was still on set pieces and stuff, but that should theoretically have curtailed some of the output going forward.
Let's get your predictions then. So, Rory, who is in your top 6 and in order?
Arsenal, Chelsea, City, United, Liverpool.
Sorry, that wasn't intentional.
Excuse me. Liverpool 5th and Spurs 6th.
Relegated, is it the 3 promoted sides or is anyone being added into the mix?
Yeah, but I do think Everton might struggle again this year.
Bloody hell.
I do think they might have a bit of a fall off.
Is Joe still there or has he left?
He'd make a big difference if he is there. I do rate him quite highly, actually. I think he's a very good player. And at the moment, it seems like the Saudi deal's fallen through, so unless maybe a London-based team comes sniffing.
Who's the top scorer after Haaland if you think Haaland's going to be first?
I really want to see Isak, but I'm not sure.
Go on, say it.
Wouldn't be the first.
Yeah, no, I do think he's got a chance because he is likely to start probably the first 12 or 13 games if he's fit, so I'll go for Isak. But I do give a strong mention to João Pedro.
Been a popular choice. Biggest overperformer?
In terms of team, you want? Nottingham Forest. Could have a good season, I think. I think they'll be 8th, 9th. Big dramatic improvement from last year.
Biggest underachiever? Well, I've just been speaking about it for 35 minutes.
Yeah, no, I do think it'll be Everton. I do think they might have a rocky year.
First manager sacked?
Whole manager, I think. Go first.
Bold prediction?
Yeah, this is tougher.
A long drive from Worcester to think about this.
Not that long. I had to pull over and get some tea. I do think TK's prediction of Arsenal being a landslide winner, I don't agree. I think it will be a lot closer than people think.
I mean, we're going to speak about some of the other teams, aren't we?
Yeah.
But if you can pick one from the chasing pack, good luck to you.
No, I do think these teams are better than we think, and I think a few little niggly problems for Arsenal injuries-wise with like Saliba probably being out for a little while, and Rice and Saka haven't really had a pre-season. You know my thoughts on Saka being crocked. I still worry they haven't really got a striker with Havertz leading the line.
Golden boot
They
winner.
don't really fancy Gyökeres. The jury's out on the left winger.
If you need an attacker, by the way.
Is the number 10 that fantastic? Odegaard, Eze.
I watched Community Shield yesterday.
Yeah, but
They come for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, but City looked absolutely dreadful. I don't think they'll play as badly as that all season. And I do think the teams like Chelsea, like Spurs, like United, albeit I've just raised some question marks about United, I don't think they'll all be starting the season how they started the season last year.
This isn't bold anymore.
No, I do think the title race will be a lot closer than many people seem to be saying.
Player outside the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season?
On the basis I think that there'll be a lot of rotation at the back. I do think we'll see a lot of minutes from Leone, and I do like what I see. I think he could look like a solid candidate to be playing for Liverpool for many years to come.
All right, let's get someone else in the chair. All right, we've got Jack with us from a remote location, hence no TK alongside me. Jack, we will jump straight into it. Episode 500. Chelsea this summer, 350 million spent, 11 new players, 1 new manager, just another summer at Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget there has been some outgoings in that as well, and we've had to basically replace our left back. Looks like we've kind of sorted out our left wing option, so we had some gaps to fill. So pretty productive, and I agree with pretty much all of the players that have come in.
Okay, well, I think if I can start by giving you your predictions from last season to react to.
Brilliant.
Then we'll close, and we'll close with your predictions for next season. So you opened by telling us the rest of the top 6 have caught up with Arsenal. You had City in first, with Chelsea running them very close and possibly pipping them at the end. Then Liverpool.
If you want my reaction to that, I'll let you say all of this.
Yeah.
I'll give you my reaction.
Then Liverpool. Then a big gap. Then Arsenal, with the possibility that either Newcastle or Tottenham could overtake them or at least run them very close.
Oh, no.
You had Chelsea as your overachiever, Arsenal as your underachiever. Your bold prediction was that Chelsea would outscore and outachieve Arsenal. Arsenal both outscored and outachieved Chelsea. Regis Lebris was the manager you said would be sacked first. He's just signed a new deal.
I remember saying Regis Lebris, and I remember thinking, oh God, no.
But you did predict João Pedro to have a big season, so there you go.
Yeah, there's a silver lining there. I mean, I would like to see the stats on the outscoring of Arsenal.
Arsenal scored 13 more in the league, 20 more in all competitions, I believe. Maybe more than 21, maybe.
Look, I know that sounds ridiculous looking back on it now, but there was a period in time of where Chelsea had just beaten Barcelona 3-0 at home under Maresca, and before our season got turned upside down by him leaving, and then us going on a 6-game losing streak. If that hadn't happened, I think those predictions could have come true. So football ever being the unpredictable game that we know and love, that completely fell apart second half of the season. So I was on track, and then I wasn't.
When we went to the bridge in November, it was first against second.
Exactly. So
then Caicedo did Caicedo things.
Yeah, I think as well, the Club World Cup, whether we like to admit it or not, like the World Champions tag that we gained from that tournament, it absolutely shot us to pieces in the second half of the season.
Well, that leads on quite nicely, actually, because you have no European football next season, which for me, when I was looking at it, I remember when we were in that position, wasn't too long ago, and us and Tottenham were in competition for that 8th spot. And I remember thinking, please don't give us that Conference League. We don't need to be dealing with that next season. We'll be far better. And we were far better. Tottenham got in the Conference League and Arsenal had their first title challenge under Arteta with no European football to worry about.
Yeah.
So you've got next season, no European football. Both Cole Palmer and João Pedro had the summer off. The manager has been backed with players for his system. He's got experience added in there. Is this the season, you think, where there is finally a level of pressure on Chelsea?
Yeah, I think so. I think all of those young players that we signed are now coming up to 25 years old. So the start of their prime, you would say, if your prime's 25 to 29. I think this is where we do have expectations, where, I mean, we had expectations last season and look what happened there. So I think if you look at our starting 11, which it won't be too dissimilar to what we started with yesterday against Real Sociedad, there's no excuses for that team now. They're all established players. So you're looking top 3 pushing top 2 now for this team.
When I wrote this question down, I had a little less insight, and then I did see some reaction to your game yesterday. Are you expecting Morgan Rogers and Cole Palmer to gel immediately?
I'd say so. I'd say because they're really close off the pitch, like Cole Palmer has obviously alluded to the fact that they're best friends off the pitch coming to the Man City Academy together. You'd have to think that there's not going to be any kind of bravado or ego between the two where they don't want well for each other, where that's half the battle. You can have two exceptionally talented players, and if they don't want the best for each other and the team, that causes the majority of the issues. So they've already nailed that down straight off the bat. So if you've got a right-footed wide player and a left-footed playmaking player, I'd say they're going to pretty complement each other straight off the bat, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do together.
Well, every season for as long as I can remember, we do this podcast, and I say to you on the eve of the season, Chelsea have spent $1 billion and Robert Sanchez is still the number one goalkeeper. Is that still the case for you? And do you feel more comfortable about that than you have previously?
So I do feel the reason why we dragged our feet with Mike Mignon last season and haven't looked to dive back into that market this season is because it's all on Mike Penders, a lanky, short, dark-haired number 13 goalkeeper. It's almost like they've just football managered it and thought, we're not going to spend money there because Mike Penders is the next guy. And from everything that I've seen of Mike Penders, they knew this 3 seasons ago, which is why they've persisted with Philip Jorgensen and Petrovic and not dived back into that market because this is the guy. Now, am I confident with Robert Sanchez in goal? I don't think any sane Chelsea fan would ever tell you yes. I'd say I'm more excited for the initial mistake that costs him his place so we can try and see a run of Mike Penders in goal.
I think...
So no, to answer your question, no, I'm not confident.
I think Chelsea effectively altered the goalkeeping market for good, because I think in the same summer, if you hadn't signed Kepa, and so we'd had a big money move, Alisson moving to Liverpool, you see what he goes on to become. I think there would be a feeling of, well, yeah, that is maybe the most important position on the pitch. Why aren't we spending more money to have the best in that area? You signed Kepa, a couple of weeks later for 72 million. It's a horror show. And now you look at Emi Martinez is on the block this summer. They're trying to sign Zion Suzuki in return. And teams just don't really spend that much. Tottenham had pinpointed that they wanted Raya, and they didn't want to pay the 30 plus million that it was going to cost to get him. We managed to get him on a loan to buy in the season after. It's very strange, and you can look at Chelsea, who have been more than willing to spend money almost everywhere else on the pitch since, haven't wanted to go above, say, the 30 million mark for a keeper since.
I guess, because if you look at the Kepa transfer, and you rightly said it's an absolute car crash of a transfer, you've spent, 30 mil or under? I think it was 22 mil for Sanchez.
Yeah.
Would you say that, I'd arguably say Sanchez has probably performed better than Kepa in a lot of different situations. So you're going to get dodgy mistakes. They're an unknown quantity because it's such a confidence-based role where confidence is high, you look like the best keeper in the world. Confidence is low, you look like the worst. And I guess it is quite an unknown quantity. So they're probably, like you said, just a bit, they've had their fingers burnt and they just don't want to spend that kind of money on something that is that much of an unknown quantity moving forward. I think as well we're not blessed with the age of, you had Cech, Buffon, Casillas, all in the same kind of time frame of playing. If you look out and point to a world-beating keeper now, are there any? Gigi Donnarumma, Alisson potentially coming to the end of his tenure now with injuries, and there isn't anyone you can really hang your hat on where you'd say, right, you're £70 million worth of goalkeeper.
If Raya was sold today, what do you reckon he's going for?
Probably Kepa standard, like transfer.
Because he's Golden Glove, I think 4 of them now, maybe 3 of them.
Yeah, I can't. I would say David Raya is probably one of the most high-profile goalkeepers currently, just because of how well Arsenal's performs defensively last season. Right? It's and that comes from confidence at the back, confidence in the back four. And there aren't many keepers out there that kind of instill that. If you look at Raya, he doesn't tend to throw them in at the same rate as some other even top keepers like Alisson has a tendency to do. So I do think he's pretty, like, out in front is one of the most reliable keepers in the world.
Let's try and get some insight from you for people that perhaps don't know what to expect from Chelsea next season. Do you think we're going to see a back 4 or 5 more across the season?
For all intents and purposes, it looks like a back 3, wing back 5, if you want to call it, situation. He started the pre-season out with 4 at the back, and then as the first teamers kind of trickle back into the squad, he's definitely reverted to type and gone to that trusted kind of 3-5-3 system that won in the league at Bayer Leverkusen. And why wouldn't you, I guess?
Yeah.
It's if it's tried and tested and he knows how he wants to play, I think that's probably the best solution to getting Cole Palmer and Morgan Rogers into the same team in kind of creative, not so wide areas, but more kind of like central, whilst also giving you the width with wing backs. So yeah, I probably would say that. I would say the centre backs that we have would probably be better suited in that system also. And when we're blooding in new wing back options with Palestra, the new lad from Spain, I can't remember what his name is, which you'll forgive me because we've signed how many players. But after losing Cucurella and trying to get Joao Hato, like as a first teamer, a first choice, used to playing every week, this probably gives everyone the right amount of cover to kind of learn their trade and kind of gel into the team.
But with a back 3, what do you think is the first choice centre back partnership at Chelsea?
Fofana, Lacroix, and Colwell. Pretty nailed on for me.
If we say Gabriel and Saliba are the best partnership in the Premier League at the moment, how close do you have that back 3 to that, or do you have it above that?
It's so tricky, isn't it? Because you look at Wesley Fofana, signed for 80 million, looked unbelievable at Leicester, and then you never know how many games you're going to get out of him, and 2, when you do get game time out of him, what he's going to perform like. I've seen him have brilliant games, I've seen him have terrible games. It's so hit and miss with Wesley Fofana. Lacroix I've got high hopes for because I think he's a brilliant centre-back. And Levi Colwell, again, I think he's going to have a massive season for us. I think his ACL injury before the eve of the start of the season last season really hampered us. And it probably kind of gave you a few reasons as to why we looked so shaky at the back last season and just leaked goals. So yeah, I'd probably say they're the 4th best in the league, maybe. I don't say that with much confidence, as you can hear in my tentative tone.
I think Lacroix could be very good if he's in a back 5. I do think if I assume that he'd be the second man up if you were to be in a back 4, I do worry about the physicality with him and Colwell. If they were a partnership together, then maybe they could be run around a little bit.
Yeah, there is that. I think if you've got like a Gyökeres and just a battering ram forward with nothing else.
He might not be the best example.
Well, he probably is because he's just a battering ram. He can't do anything else. He's a Liam Delap that scores. Hey, look, he got 20 goals last season, so I can take the piss all I want. That's still a decent return. So I think they're great ball-playing centre-backs, and I do think that you're going to see 3 more than you are 2 this season with Chelsea. So I think they're going to get enough cover and have enough quality on the ball to be able to kind of play out. So we'll see how it goes. But when you look at Gabriel and Saliba and the goal threat they have and how just solid they are usually, there aren't many in the league that can kind of hold a candle to that at the moment. So we're going to have to try and win in other areas.
I think a big difference could just be, and it's going to sound stupid, if just everyone at Chelsea is serious next season.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to hit a point where, if not the whole team, there are people fucking around. There are people realizing that, we're not winning the league this season, or we're not doing this, and other motives coming in. If everyone is locked in with a mutual goal, that could be as big of a difference as anything.
Yeah. It's because you saw a very different Chelsea from the start of the season to the end of the season. Like, that PSG game was the high watermark, where we were 2-2 playing really good football and then chucked 3 in the net, and you just didn't see the first part of the season Chelsea again. Like I said, I've attributed it to some fatigue from the Club World Cup. I've also thought mentality. It was just, you could tell they just stopped caring about anything. And we've made some strides to kind of rectify that with bringing Jordan Henderson in, which kind of makes sense. We're giving him the England role that he had in the World Cup, just for an actual professional team, which, you know what, I don't mind it. Xabi Alonso, I can imagine holding a bit more gravitas and coming with a bit more aura, if I loathe to say that word.
Do you like what you heard from him so far?
I'd say so. I'd say he's kind of finding his feet, but if anything, he's gaining respect on the pitch from players.
I was going to say, did you see that clip of him in the rondo?
Yeah.
All the passes being like bobbled into him and he's fizzing them back.
Yeah, I genuinely think if we're bringing Jordan Henderson to play, why give him the fucking boots? Why not?
You've perhaps covered over my next question here, but I'll ask it anyway. Hypothetically, if Chelsea had signed a midfielder that couldn't jump over the advertising boarding without snapping his arm, how would you feel about that?
Well, as in, how do I feel about Jordan Henderson?
How do you feel about signing Jordan Henderson?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I can't imagine he's on big wages. He isn't going to have cost us a lot of money, and standards are very much the issue. Like, we've seen what a good Chelsea side looks like with this team, and it looks good. But the peaks and the troughs are too far apart from one another when it comes to performance levels and attitude. So I think you've got to look at, how do we get that consistent attitude across the whole of the season? If you're going to get someone like Jordan Henderson in, if you're going to get some older heads, that's the way to do it. And I agree with the strategy here. I like the fact that they've looked at the last couple of seasons and seen what it looks like when our heads go. And it's not pretty. And they've gone to rectify it, because they can't just do everything with kids. They do need to have some leadership in the playing squad, not just in the management setup.
I saw a thing from Carragher, and he was saying that it's not beyond the realms of belief to say that Chelsea's ownership structure hears what everyone else says about them and does make changes based on that, as much as the things that they talk about internally. And the youthfulness of Chelsea and the immaturity of Chelsea was a big thing that's been said over the last couple of seasons, maybe. But he was saying that perhaps Chelsea have got the wrong idea, in that you don't need to sign purely 32, 33, 34-year-olds. And you can have experienced players that have been there and done it that are far younger than that. Morgan Rogers would be a good example of someone that's played 100 Premier League games. He's been there every week. He's participated in a European competition. That's what you mean, rather than signing a guy from Brazil that knows he's joining Chelsea for 2 years before he gets there. And then he comes to England and is like, what the hell is going on here? And maybe you could do with a few more of those, but we'll see how much of a difference the older players make that you've signed so far.
Yeah, I think the proof for the pudding will be the eating on this one. But also, you're right. I thought we can just sign 26 to 28-year-old players like Lacroix, and they've been there, done that, and understand, but also have a worth when it comes to actually being on the pitch. Because Jordan Henderson isn't going to be leading on that pitch. He'll be leading in the dressing room, he'll be leading at the training ground. He's barely going to play. So the
Welbeck one I saw and I thought, that's a good sign. And the Henderson one I saw and thought, okay. that was... Let me ask you some quick fire questions, and then we'll get your predictions. So we'll start on that topic. Who plays more minutes next season? Romeo Lavia or Jordan Henderson?
Lavia, if he stays fit.
Well, that's the question.
Which is a big if.
That's the question within the question.
Oh, I'd still say Lavia. I can't see Henderson really playing at all.
Who scores more goals, Danny Welbeck or Nicholas Jackson?
Oh, Nicholas Jackson. Because
is that going to be at Chelsea? He was left out of the squad yesterday, wasn't he?
I don't know. So is McCullum, Mudryk. We've just got a lot of players. If you're going to get rid of a player or loan a player, it's got to be Liam Delap. I would have João Pedro and Nicholas Jackson because they're just two very.
He's turned down a move to Como because he wants to stay within the Premier League.
Liam Delap.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Chelsea wanting 40 million for him is look, fair play. I said on last week's episode that next summer Arsenal should just commission the guys at Chelsea to sell our players, say that they can have a percentage of whatever they sell, and they would do far better than what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
How many games does Reece James play in the Premier League?
So last season we saw his most games for like 4 years, I think, pretty much. I think he basically all competitions this season. I don't have the Premier League stat, but I think he played 38, 40 games, which, including the Club World Cup. We seem to get it right with managing his workload and getting it right with we can't play him as a wing back anymore. He has to. We've got we've got Gusto to basically take over the mantle for just the kind of width fullback option, which I'd say you're going to get him playing 75% of the games because I think we've just figured out that you can't have him as a right back. You can't play him for 90 minutes. You've got to get just the best out of him for the most possible time that it's safe to do so. Like we saw it in the World Cup. We saw him be brought on as a wing back and his minutes not being managed by Tuchel, and you saw him just break down again. So I think we know how to deal with him. So yeah, I'd say 75% of the games you're going to get out of him.
How many red cards does Caicedo get?
Oh, I'd like to say a 50% reduction, right? So you got 4 last season?
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. So I'd like to say 2, and that's me seeing growth in that player.
Who scores more, Palmer or Rodgers?
Rodgers is just an absolute bagsman. I could never take him out of my fantasy team because he just gets goals. Constant goal contributions. So I'm going to have to pick Morgan Rodgers because Palmer hasn't scored in pre-season. He's had a full summer off. I'm hoping that we see him back to his best, but I would say Morgan Rodgers is more in form, especially coming off the back of last season. So him.
Is Enzo Fernandez still here at the end of September?
I'd like to say yes, not because I particularly like him as a person, but we gave Man City a deadline the week before the season starts, gives us a chance to get some money in.
Do you believe that though? If City put 120 million on the table today, Chelsea is saying, hang on, the deadline was yesterday.
I don't know. I think the reason why we put the price tag so high is because we do want one season of just, we've had him be a bit part kind of weird contributor. We saw the flashes of his best last season. He's now 25 and we want to see the return on the investment that we've given this guy.
Well, I think if you can make a profit on him after what you've seen so far, I think they could offer it on deadline day and Chelsea would take it.
I don't know. I know that we've got this air of a selling club. I do think we sell the players we want to sell and we keep hold of the ones we don't want to sell. So this will be the most interesting transfer saga because this will be the first time that someone's going to put big money up for a player that we're happy to have at the club. All the other players have gone to other clubs and gone, what about this guy? And
if a team
get big money for them.
If a team doesn't want to sell someone though, do you think it plays out quite like this? Because I think you can often tell the way the stories are kind of said and sold as to where that story is coming from. And I don't think City are leaking that there's a 5 p.m. deadline to sign Enzo. And I don't think there's this constant thing of the price tag's 120 million. It's 120 million. If it isn't the Chelsea, you're at least saying we're open to selling this guy. And I think it would work perfectly for Chelsea if they were able to get him off their books like that. If I'm maybe giving Chelsea too much credit, then I think Chelsea are open to losing him, and they'll know there's someone that they can trigger pretty quickly if they need to.
Yeah, there is that. I'd also say it's the political framing to the player as well. Of saying, look, we gave the club that you wanted to go to.
Yeah, fair.
This is quite evident. We gave the club that you wanted to go to a deadline to put up or to front up or shut up, basically. Like, you've been away, you've had a World Cup, and you've behaved strangely there. You got mixed reception when he came on yesterday against
Booed, I saw.
Sociedad. Booed and cheered, which is strange. Someone holding up a certain flag in the home end as well. But with that, we've then basically shown it to the players that if they really wanted you, we gave them the deadline to be able to make this happen. They didn't make it happen, so it's not our fault. You're here for another season until we can find a replacement for you. We're not going to be hamstrung into selling the week before the season starts and ripping apart the centre of our midfield without adequate time to basically fill that gap. So I think it's probably framing all rounds, but mainly to the player to say, no, give him the chance, you're here for another season.
I think if and when Rodri goes, they'll test your nerve pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. They would. I'd like to think that this leadership model at the club will stand firm and say, we gave you a chance, start the season. They're quite forthright with their transfer dealings. Like, we've had many weird stories come out how clubs like dealing with this, which I'm not sure I like to hear when it comes to a selling aspect. Love to hear from a buying aspect. But I think reputation is very, very key to this Chelsea leadership model. So,
and that's why I think 120 million sale on the table would look pretty good. Let me ask you one more question and then I'll get your predictions. What is a good season for Chelsea?
I said last season, top 3 and pushing the top 2.
No, you didn't.
Didn't I? Did I say top 2 pushing Arsenal?
Well, you had Arsenal falling outside of the top 4. You said there was going to be a title charge in there, and difference between good and great was whether you got over the line, basically.
And to be fair, like I said, up until Maresca leaving, I wasn't completely wrong and mental in saying that. But let's load it up. Let's go again. Last season was a terrible, terrible season in the end. Started well, awful, awful season. It's consistency. We've got a squad there that, under the right leadership and under the right tactics, if you look man for man, it isn't a million miles away from Arsenal's.
So do you think you're equipped that if Arsenal don't win it, you'd expect Chelsea to win it?
No, I'm not saying that. I expect, we'll come on to my predictions in a minute. It's probably easier for me to frame this question within my predictions.
Let's do your predictions because we've gone a little bit over already. So let's hear your top 6 in order.
In order, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Villa.
Okay. Who's getting relegated?
Ipswich, Hull, Fulham.
Okay. Top scorer after Haaland.
Top scorer after Haaland is, for me, João Pedro. Oh,
Every single person said Haaland last year, so I thought let's make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Biggest overperformer?
I've gone Arsenal, and that sounds mental, but to go back to back in a league where City lie in, I think the unknown quantity of no Saliba. I think the unknown quantity of Maresca at City, you never know. He might just revert to type and start cooking for his old job at Chelsea back halfway through the season and leave. You never know what he's going to do. Transitioning from Pep now, that's a fucking tough act to follow. Hard. It's maybe not as hard as Ferguson at United, but I just can't see them having it. They've got the players to have immediate success, but are the players going to buy into Maresca? You don't know. But saying that, Arsenal to go back to back, that's going to be a tall order, and I think they probably are going to do it because they're the most primed, ready, stable club to be able to do that now.
Never done it in the club's Premier League history.
Exactly. So I would say if they win it, they overachieve, and fair play to them if they do.
Biggest underachiever?
Newcastle. Now, I know that there's no real pressure on them because they've decimated their own squads. Eddie Howe's going. I can see this being a really bad season for them because they haven't really replaced the players that they've got rid of, and they haven't really brought anyone in, and it was bad enough last season as it was. So I think they've got a lot to look out for. And with all of the kind of noise around the new ownership coming in a few years ago, it just looks like a dead rubber at the moment.
It's also easy to say the pressure's off until the season begins, and you don't have the European games to kind of supplement the bad form, and, you know, we're going to Barcelona and we're doing this and that. Yeah, I think that's going to be tasty. First manager sacked?
Gary O'Neill, because it's Gary O'Neill.
Okay.
The only other than that, I think he's a good manager, but he just gets sacked everywhere he goes, really.
His stock doesn't go down regardless of what happens where he is. It's class.
That's what I mean. Like, he'll get sacked and no one will care and be like, yeah, Gary O'Neill's good. So,
bold prediction?
Him. Bold prediction is Rodgers, Pedro and Palmer will have over 60 goal contributions combined this season.
Okay. And finally, a player outside the obvious from your team that you expect to have a big season.
Levi Colwill. Full season back after that ACL injury. We're going to see if he's still got it, if he's still where he is in his development. And I think under this structure, under a really good manager, I think we're going to see a really good player come through here. And we've seen flashes, but this is where he kind of nails his colours to the mast and says, I'm here this season. And he shores up a very leaky Chelsea defence.
And a last thing separately, I guess. Have you watched the Jose Mourinho documentary yet?
No, I'm saving it. I'm away a few nights in the coming weeks with work, so it's being saved for that.
All right, we'll get your thoughts on that after. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time.
Amazing. Cheers, bud.
All right, here we are then. Let's talk about the best of the rest. The teams that we've not covered so far. Won't be 35, 25 minutes on each of these teams, or we will legitimately be here all evening. But let's talk about Man City first. They were in most people's top 2, top 3, if not. Pretty simple question to start with. We saw the Community Shield yesterday. Can they function without Rodri going into next season? And can they be expected to reach the same heights if they don't have Rodri next season?
Well, it's not just Rodri. It's the thing. It's been sort of framed as that now. But in terms of the overall picture, you've gone from Pep Guardiola's your manager to Enzo Maresca's your manager. I don't rate Maresca particularly highly. I imagine Maresca's own family would acknowledge, well, that's a downgrade, right? So the biggest fan is going to go, you got worse at manager. You have lost huge experienced players in terms of John Stones, Bernardo Silva, and Rodri now out the door. So it's not just Rodri on that front. Even like players like Ake and whatever, they've kind of been there and thereabout, they're gone. So I think we spoke about down the stretch last year. There's all this talk of the experience in the City team or whatever versus the Arsenal team. Well, we said there's a decent amount of players in there that don't have that experience or were fringe players when they did have the experience. Now some of the biggest players from that are gone. So you've got those leaders are gone and the manager's gone. And you've got a manager whose CV basically highlight is getting promoted with Leicester, who should have got promoted and weren't too good to see him leave. And then basically stinking the gaff out of Chelsea where he was feeding.
I've heard a lot about beating Barcelona from Jack.
Yeah, so I don't know how you can flip Rodri into Enzo Fernandez and think you've got better. I don't know how Elliot Anderson, Enzo Fernandez midfield does not strike fear into. Yeah, Buwadi, what is he 18?
Yeah.
So he looks like a good prospect. But in terms of where they have been to that, I just don't. There was a gap. There ended up being a gap between them and Arsenal at the end of last season. That gap's got wider. The gap's got wider. It's not. So I don't. If I'm looking for sort of, I think anyone who suggests maybe City can or will win the league, I think I'm just looking at the name Man City at this stage. That's the only thing I can
Haaland at top.
But yeah, I was going to say, you'd still go through the 11, you go, where would you rank Donnarumma in the league for keepers? He's in the top, 4?
Yeah.
They've probably got the best striker. They got Semenyo, who'd be in the top 4 or 5 wingers.
You're right to say that they won't be as bad as they were in the Community Shield. And the Community Shield often can be this wasn't the case, I don't think, but often one team just looked fitter than the other as well, and they can just override them. I actually didn't think that was the case. I thought Arsenal was better. But I thought this game was an example though. If if you can't get the team set up right, you can end up having no supply for Haaland.
Yeah.
And no team, Arsenal are the best defensive team in the league, even with Saliba missing. However, there are going to be games, I think, under Chelsea, there were games where there was so much possession and side to side, not doing anything with it. You can't do that with Haaland. You got to be more direct towards it. I know, Petter's not exactly like the most direct, but he knew how to factor it in, right? Maresca can be playing for the sake of it, and I do wonder with then the change of construct with that midfield, do you end up in a spot where he ends up having too many games where he doesn't get the supply? We know he's not going to create a huge amount for himself. So whilst he will hit crazy numbers because he always does, I don't know that I would want to be relying on him to necessarily win me game after game because I don't think he's that player.
I still think the midfield, if they do sign Enzo Fernandez and they do sign
Dion
Robin, I think Elliot Anderson's a very good player. I think Enzo Fernandez, for all of his flaws, he's a good footballer, right?
Do you think it'd be to their advantage that if you look through the team and say they get those players, at least half the team has had one season or less playing under Pep? They don't have this long history with Pep where they're wedded to his habits. So you look at Donnarumma and you look at Gay and you look at that midfield three, and
even Kushnov's not been there a million years, has he?
He's probably been there. He maybe would attribute more to him as he's probably taken him on as a footballer, but that's like 4 or 5 players in there that aren't wedded to Pep Guardiola, his habits and his system.
And the players are brought in the summer.
Yeah,
you've got a decent amount of starting level would have.
And so there would be a bit of that in terms of him managing it. It's not going in there after 30 at United and every single one there has been with him for about 5-6 years, and all of a sudden you're ripping everything up. I don't know. I think they were patchy last season under Pep is probably something that...
If they go on a run like they did under Pep under Maresca, people would be calling for his head. Because they'll go, this guy's incredible for the job. We've seen him fall apart at the seams at Chelsea. And you've got City fans who have either only known Pep if they're younger, or have got used to it under him. And it's a long period of time. And it's, as we've seen, it's hard to be the one that follows the man that follows the man. And it's not necessarily just the players you've got to get on board, it's the fans and the media and everyone else. I think there would have been way more scrutiny on this appointment had it been for Liverpool, United, Arsenal, whatever. It's only because it's City and they...
He squashed their expectations in his first press conference, and he was saying that you can't be expecting us to win the Premier League next season. We're not ready for that yet. We've got to. I thought.
But he kept saying that at Chelsea as well, didn't he? When they started the season pretty well.
But the top of the league, and he was doing that.
You're a Man City.
No, I know.
And you're supposed to have learned a lesson from Chelsea.
I think that's just maybe his style, isn't it? Like we were saying earlier with Iraola, that managers will always immediately play stuff down.
Pep's thing was he was behind this and he was like, "This is going to be difficult," and then it was, we're going to push them all the way. They're going to have to finish us off and win every single one of these games. And we started to lose a couple of them. So I don't know. I think of Maresca and I think of the clip where he's saying something to Yuri and Timber on the touchline, and Timber says to him, "Try harder, mate." Yeah, and he shakes his hand afterwards and think.
That article that was in the Athletic just after Maresca left Chelsea, I thought should rule you out of any top job. I think should rule you out of any top job. And he kept going to the Chelsea ownership, who had not said anything, asking for reassurances about his position. It's like, you aren't cut out for this. Maybe he's learned all of these lessons and he's a totally reformed guy. I just think, I can't believe there isn't more about how has this guy got this job. I've said it for a while. I don't know
enough about him. There was stuff where these managers before they had a long history in the league, or they had some very clear flaws that you're able to point to and say that's going to be an issue, that's going to be an issue. We're kind of led to believe that he's just a Pep light at this point, and it's almost like a mystery. The stuff that he did at Man City before, and the reason they have so much belief in him, is something we don't know about, and that's supposedly why they brought him in.
I was going to say, if he didn't previously have that connection with Pep, would anyone have ever been saying he's the guy?
We had the conversation, and he was appointed a week later, to be fair, saying, why is it supposedly so obvious that he's going to be the guy that goes and gets the job? And
I've kind of felt unchanged since then. Now, you will say City have some very good people in positions there. You would back their judgment. But I still think it's a hell of a roll of the dice. Of course.
Who's going to have a better season this year, Cherki or Foden?
Cherki. Top 10 Foden, no.
This is got to be last chance saloon.
Well, this year, Foden has a point to prove, doesn't he? He has to
Yeah, that one shot yesterday, and I thought I've done him. I
He
shouldn't have
looked, I
laughed.
thought he looked right yesterday, but you're going to need more.
Did
than
he
that.
do anything outside of that one shot he had?
There was that pass into. There's the pass. The move away from the player was impressive, and then the pass it nearly threads it through to Harden and comes off Gabriel's heels.
Yes.
That's kind of bad like it is. So you need more of that from him. I think he can do it. The bad news is if they are struggling, I don't know if he's the guy to pull you out of that.
Couldn't believe when I saw Grealish coming on at half time.
Yeah, that was mental.
We'll take that because at this point Ben White can do the stand in front of you,
And we know we want to do it against him as well.
knock it round him, and he's got not a lot for you at this stage. And
Yeah.
Doku was the only one that was going to do that. Grealish wasn't going to do it. Let's talk about another team. Aston Villa we've mentioned a little bit.
I just like City. I think they'll be second or third.
Yeah.
I just don't think I just don't think they can challenge Arsenal. I just don't think.
But I think it's going to be like 90 to 95 points, and the next person's like 80.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Theoretically, that is still a drop off. Isn't it?
Can't teach me like that.
Yeah.
Villa, do you think they're going to benefit from just freshening everything up? That's one way of putting it. Another is they've been gutted. Newcastle, we word it one way, Villa another.
Yeah.
Emi Martinez, someone's going to take him if I want to put my sauces on the table rather than in the fridge.
Do not.
I have a feeling he ends up at Chelsea.
Jesus.
Enzo.
Emi Martinez.
Possibly. I'm not sure.
How? About the player, about the
SpitballingPod sources. Luca Digne's gone to PSG, Yuri Tielemans gone to Man United, Morgan Rodgers has gone to Chelsea, and I think we'll end up just paying what they want for Konsa, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or a meeting, I think they're asking for 60, it might be that they want 50. I mean, maybe.
I think we could sign him wherever he goes.
That we do that.
Solid defender.
And Emery can have his team, not they didn't already, but this is a big thing for him, having more control in the transfer market is usually where things can go awry. But Manzambi's coming in. I think we've all kind of decided that he's going to be great based on a couple of games at the World Cup. Joao Gomez, I think everyone doesn't really have a bad word to say about him from his time at Wolves. Garnacho, I don't think anyone has anything nice to say about him, but when he comes on against your team, you think, oh no.
He feels like the type of player that Emery might be able to revive. I'm not sure if he can, but he feels like he might.
He did have Jadon Sancho, did he not?
They've gone
Harvey Elliott.
when you look at what they've
He's not
done
done
and they
revolving
say
doors
we're not
already.
allowed to spend money, and you just look at their history with wingers over that, they're still trying to flog Leon Bailey. Now they had that
I mean, I can't
Diaby
believe
that they sold off to Saudi. They go
mental.
through wingers like
He's now being linked with like Bayer Leverkusen, isn't he?
Yeah.
So what on earth was going on at
as
Villa?
it was before.
Yeah, but it seems like people are talking like Buendia might have a really big part to play this year. A year ago, you were like, he might be out the door. So it's strange how Emery seems to keep these players on board and just gets the right amount out of them when he needs them.
Yeah.
Yeah, top four will be the aim for them, you would think. They're going to have to balance Europe again. Europa League is very different to the Conference League when you're doing 2 in a week. I guess I can ask, but I was at the cinema for the Super Cup, so I came out and people were talking about Maggio like he's the new R9 to the new Lukaku to like whatever he's going to be.
Oh, he looks an impressive build.
I saw
doesn't
2
he, for
accounts.
the
I
age?
saw he's missed a hatful of chances, but he had a hatful of chances. Seemed to be the
Yeah, it could have been like 15. He's probably obviously because of his age. And then, as you said, sort of 6'4" built. It kind of.
It's always the way, isn't it? When it's the first time you've ever seen these, I've never seen him play previous to last week, right? So I think very often that is why people get so caught up. It's like, oh my god, where's he come from? Do you know what I mean? Whereas, especially if you were like a
I
diehard.
remember Mudrik's first game.
No, but if you were a diehard Villa fan, you'd maybe heard a bit about him on the.
The big thing was he couldn't get a work permit despite being English.
He played 3 games for Luxembourg
Yeah.
in friendly. That's mad as that.
Yeah.
But and his dad, Guy Maggio, played on loan at Cheltenham Town once upon a time. But
Yeah,
loan at
right.
Cheltenham Town during an interview said that he was there like sort of December to January time. It was like he wants to play rather than play for Cameroon in the African Cup of Nations. Like 8 games for Cheltenham Town in League One, no goals. Probably not doing it. Probably not going next to Sam Leto and the boys. Probably not happening.
It feels like a season in which Villa can.
I think. The other thing with that, if he can play for England,
Yeah.
we've just come off a tournament. We're like, what are we going to do once Kane's gone? We'll cling to anything.
Jadon Duns.
Scout's not
It feels like a summer or a season, sorry, we could get to December and Villa could tell us that their targets were about 4 or 5 different things. It could be we're going to have a building year and we're going to look to just get back into any part of Europe. It could be that we see that United and Chelsea and Liverpool look like they're not that much better than us and we can take them over. It could be that whatever he wants to say is he could get away with, I think, at this point, because there's not a clear, you have to finish here. And particularly after losing those, the excuse is kind of built in there for you.
But also the credit in the bank that you must have for that team. I know it can go very, very quickly wrong. I'm not going to spite myself.
It has gone wrong for him a few times, and we kind of just pretend that hasn't happened.
No, I know, but if you'd have asked Villa fans 10 years ago, a lot of these Villa fans remember when they were in the Championship, not a million years ago. Do you know what I mean?
And they say PSR isn't a thing, and they've gone from the Championship to the Champions League semi-final in 4 seasons.
But they've done amazing things. He's won a European trophy there. That's something they haven't done for 50 years or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Only one team he didn't win that Europa League with. But I'm looking forward to watching them. I'm not rooting for him to do well at all, but I'll be more excited. I judge a lot of these by if they're on in the 12:30 game, my level of enthusiasm. So I'm going to watch it anyway. But if you're playing Wolves, or not Wolves this time, but whoever it's going to be, how excited I am to watch you. And Brentford I have that feeling for, and Villa could be someone that we have that feeling for.
I think I might say Manzambi and Yogo have both got knocks. Which is...
Maggio's out till about October.
If you've just refreshed the midfield and then 2 of them either can't start or be a bit slow start, that'd be frustrating.
Nana did his cruciate.
Yes.
And they're looking that Kamara to play over 25 games for the first time in his career at Aston Villa.
Well, that Manzambi suddenly went down when he was being linked with a move, right? It was just a weird time, wasn't it? It was
Newcastle.
Everyone was looking at him and it was oh shit, he's just got injured.
Newcastle agreed a deal.
Yeah.
There was that clip of Martinez on the pitch saying he come into Villa. Yes, and he was there the next day. So I have there's too much more to speak about, because we'll do a bit more on deadline day. Let's talk about Newcastle. We hope to have Smith here with us today. He isn't. I've locked him in for deadline day, although I didn't lock him for today. As a fan, how do you even prepare for this season? Because if Villa is taking it as a positive thing, it's going to be exciting, we're going to freshen everything up. Newcastle aren't. They lost their manager. They've lost
captain.
Their 3 most important players. And they're yet to replace any of them really they're yet to replace them with anyone that they recognise. So a lot of the Newcastle fans I speak to are, I think, feigning positivity to me and saying,
whistling for the graveyard, isn't it?
Well, there's no expectations. Let's go in. I think it's going to be better than you think. And
still reading off finishing behind Sunderland, aren't they?
Well, they lost to them twice as well.
I mean, if you had said that to them, it'd be pretty horrific viewing.
Lost them 6 times prior. So
I think they're going to struggle big time. They look like they've got no firepower.
Dan Burns says previously they were a team that one of the biggest compliments you could pay them was they were horrible to play against. And he said they want to fall within the rules, which he clarified very quickly. But he said he doesn't think since the Carabao Cup final they've been that team. And they want to become that team again. And I don't know how you pronounce his name, Matthias Jassel or Jaisel. He says he's going to play an aggressive, high-intensity style of football. They don't have European football to contend with this season, which Eddie Howe kind of acted like was an affliction every time he had to do it.
Yeah. Ironically, maybe that's some of that false positivity you said there is. One, you kind of hit the bottom and bounce back up, I guess, is the kind of thing you've had striker taken last summer, and then all these players taking this. They would have probably anticipated losing 1, maybe 2 of these. Losing all of them over that course of time must be crazy, brutal. I do think there might have been less positivity at Howe still being the manager. I think a new manager can kind of give you a bit of a feeling, well, this is something new. He obviously comes with some level of reputation, albeit not a lot that any of us would see.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real sort of gamble that you don't know. But I do think that's maybe part of it as well. It's something from the fans to see, well, this is going to be something different. It's not going to be the same old from Howe, etc.
Well, they're positive that they got rid of Nick Pope. So within a week, or I think 3 days of being in there, he said he had a chat. The manager said he had a chat with him to tell him where he stood.
Joe Hart did.
Yeah.
The feeling seems to be that they rate this Sean Sturt, who's from Ajax. I've never seen anything of him before. I have to think they're going to be busy in the next 2-3 weeks before the window closes.
The worry for me is there's still some players being linked out like Lewis Hall.
That one I can't imagine.
No, I know, but you just never know, do you? Like somebody
I
with
just
enough
can't
cash
imagine
under their
anyone
nose.
paying 60 million for a left back, or if you're going to pay that much for a left back, maybe it's easy for me to say. It would have to be for someone like Calafiori that is just a complete freak that could do a bit of everything and is like a real standout. I can't imagine
If United get desperate,
You know what?
paying that much for a left back whose best trait is that he's consistent. Is
they'll do a thing of like, oh look, he's going to be our left back for the next.
I don't know that he's that good.
I don't know that he's that good, but I don't think it'd be impossible that he could also go as well.
It also should be hilarious because when they got him from Chelsea, it's like he's coming back home. This is where he belongs. It's like how long did that last? 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. I think the manager, if he was to look at it positively, he really does have the scope to craft his side as he wants. Because I do think a lot of this money is going to be put back in. They have to get the fans back on side in some capacity.
And if you're coming in not injured, but something like this, it should be an asset. You know, we've seen he can do it in the Prem.
Will Asula breakout year?
It's hard though, isn't it? Like being the age he is now, coming back off the injuries.
Shall I?
Brentford probably played more stylistically to him.
Your boy Harvey Barnes should benefit from Gordon going.
New deal.
Should be going right on the main man now on that side.
We need a left winger. Shall I just rattle through a few kind of points? You can either react, you can just nod your head or whatever, and then we'll close the show because it is particularly warm. Bournemouth lost their greatest asset in Iraola. Marco Rose has got to manage that fallout as well as Europe. See if they can keep hold of Alex Scott. Supposedly, if Chelsea sell out Enzo Fernandez, they're going to slap the money down on Bournemouth's desk and say, let's take Alex Scott then.
That would be a shame.
Antonio Silva coming in, someone so many of us have heard about. I think we played against him in the Champions League, but I don't know too much more than that. Brighton, they've got to replace Welbeck's 14 goals from last season and Herzler's trim.
It's interesting they're saying that like it seems like Jorginho Ruta is going to start at top and Jack Hinchell was going to be in the 10.
Yeah,
Always going to the arse.
Loading up and seeing an exclusive story that he was linked to Arsenal on like a Thursday night made me so angry. I didn't sleep for like an hour afterwards.
Hinchell would.
Yeah.
But he can play a lot of positions. So yeah.
Well, that seemed to be the selling point in this.
He can play the 10, play the 8.
So we don't need you. We need you to play right back, maybe.
Yeah. It's just he's one of those players that he's going to play a lot of minutes because it's like draw 10 names up on the board and then where do we play Hinchell?
Crystal Palace have lost Lacroix but kept hold of Wharton, Sama, Teta, Mitchell and Henderson so far.
And brought in Dwight McNeil.
I was going to ask who you think will do better out of Brennan Johnson and Dwight McNeil.
Dwight McNeil better, I think.
I think Brennan Johnson did better.
Yeah.
I'll break the deadlock. I think McNeil will do better.
We'll have a coffee on that, TK. Goals and assists.
Lovely.
Sunderland, on the one hand, did buy half of the players in Europe last season, but don't feel like they've added too much to it this season. And you wonder whether that'll go stale. And they've got to handle European football as well.
Yeah, and if you are going to get second season syndrome, not really signing any players isn't a way to ward that off, I will say. Keep hold of Xhaka's big though. Do you think had Chelsea taken him, we might have been looking at that a little bit more? Oh shit.
Rory thinks Everton are going to go down.
I don't think they're going to go down. I never said that.
They're going to flirt with going down.
I'd love them to get.
I think they'll be 16th, 17th.
First full season in the Hill Dickinson.
I mean, hilarious. They might be going back to Goodison as an away side.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Preston playing there, and they got him in the Carabao.
Oh, nice.
Unbelievable.
Nice. I really love that. Sensational.
I think Everton finish in the top half and push for European qualification.
Jesus. Very different to what
My guys at behind KDH.
There's just that aging back line as well, though, isn't it? Like that, is getting an old back line now. You wonder how long. Pickford.
They're going to sign a right back. It looks like
part time. The only thing with them is if it does go properly stale with Moisey, but I think he'll do what he normally does, and they've got some, like you touched on there, some decent individual talent to complement his usual sorts of. I think if you can get him playing someone like Tyler Dibling, kind of been forgotten about, he should be another one that they're talking about.
Fan base can flick very, very quickly, though, the Evertonians.
I feel like
I think they just get bored of it at times as well.
Also, they get tagged with that, and then I look around.
They're probably no different to any other fan base, but
no, that's what I'm thinking.
They just have more reasons to boo recently, I suppose.
Well, it got bad. It looked like it was going to be a great season for them, and they trailed off at the back end.
I think they've probably got a right to be complaining.
And then Moyes kind of said, like, "What did you expect?"
Yeah, it doesn't help, does it? No.
I actually feel differently to the pair of you. Initially, before I changed to Arbeloa, I had Glasner down as the first manager to be sacked. I think that's going to go horribly wrong. I think they're paying him too much. His heart isn't in being at Forest. He thought he was going to be at Milan. He thought he was going to be somewhere else.
United or Chelsea.
Pissed it away himself. Big squad. They aren't in Europe this season. Volatile owner.
Kept Gibbs White though. I think that's massive
so far. Your boy Awoniyi has just gone to Coventry.
Big signing for that.
So I think that
be playing.
Goes badly for him.
Him and Marinakis is blowing up at some point. No doubt about it. But I don't think it'll be this.
He's in the top 4 highest paid manager in the league at this point.
Good on it.
They gave him all the cash.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Leeds, James Trafford in, Harry Wilson in, so...
I think they're 2 decent signings. I think the heat that Trafford got, this time last year we were talking about Man City starting keeper for Christ's sake.
Yeah, it was the 2 games he had there.
No, but like that is huge pressure on a keeper to go in and be straight in the deep end of City and playing Pep style of football. I think at Leeds, I think he'll be a good keeper, I really do.
I thought Harry Wilson should have stayed at Fulham.
I think, with all due respect to Leeds, he'll get a better, more of an upwards move.
I like that he's gone somewhere to start, but
yes.
Was he not starting last
He
year?
was linked to Everton.
No, he didn't.
Trafford.
I think Everton would have been a better move than Leeds.
Yeah. But to be fair, I think it's a very good sign for Leeds, and if he does pull out, then. But are they going to finish? He should be pushing for.
He goals and assists, really. He's a player that will chip in. With
he was someone that was on the bench for Fulham about 18 months ago. He just kind of has these spells where he goes crazy.
He went mental, didn't he, last year for like a 5 or 6 years.
He was lucky to get that goal of the season. I thought that's one of the worst goal of the seasons we've had in some time. Just something a little bit different. But anyway, I think we will close it out there. Thank you again for tuning in to another edition of the Spitballing Pod. Do you have something else you want to add in?
No.
Okay. You made me look like you did.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, I realised.
That was episode 500. Thank you, I said this earlier, for tuning in. Pass this one on to your friend if you think it's a good one. If not, then maybe wait for deadline day. And yeah, we will see you next time after the first game of the Premier League season. Ciao.